Shalom, friends. My name is Chadwick. You reach Faithful Performance. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we correlate Daniel 10, which is what we're seeing right now, with Daniel 8 and also Ezekiel 38, as we see the trajectory of biblical prophecy going down right in front of our eyes. It really is an amazing time to be alive. Just like the prophet said, it's going to be awesome to see this, but absolutely terrible to witness this on the face of the earth as we see the destruction and a lot of the innocent lives and things like that. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to go through this, but also we'll be going through the maps as well, going through the Middle East and North Africa. There is more going on that I think is very important to look at as well, other than the Israeli-American and the Iran war. So we'll look at that, of course, in the geopolitical and also the economical sense as well. But then we'll look at the Middle East and we'll see how all this trajectory is going through to the end of the age. But my friends, we're living at some very amazing times. We've gone through this chapter before in Daniel 10. So what I wanted to do is show how Daniel 10 is going to end. And then here comes Daniel 8, because the Persia is in Daniel 8 as well. And then we'll see the difference in those. And then we'll look at Ezekiel 38, 39, which is what a lot of people are calling for right now, but it's just not the appointed time. Persia is not the head of the alliance in Ezekiel 38. The head of the alliance will be Turkey, or whoever you got with all of those names in there. It will not be Persia. Persia will be underneath them. So there's a lot of confusion, in my opinion, going on out there. Some people call this the Purim War, which it did start right around Purim or Purim, but it's not the Purim War. This has been a 12-day war, not a 2-day war. Okay, and this is not the redemption of the Jewish people. That is when Yeshua returns. Okay, so we've got a progress and a process to go through with this situation with the end of the age. And the book of Daniel will outline all of that perfectly for us if we put those 4 kingdoms at the end of the age. Okay, so the book of Daniel is a really easy book to understand if we listen to what he said, to put these kingdoms at the very end. We're seeing 4 kingdoms rise to power right now, and then they will be crushed together at the end of the age. Okay, so we saw in Daniel 2, and I'll go through these 4 kingdoms really quick because it's important to understand the 4 kingdoms so that we can go to Daniel 10 and Daniel 8 and we can understand the transition between the 2nd kingdom and the 3rd kingdom. Okay, so Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 will have 4 kingdoms. Both of them have 4 kingdoms, and the 5th kingdom is Israel. Okay, the kingdom of Israel, or Yeshua. Okay, when he returns. So he mentions 4 kingdoms that will rise at the end of the age. Most biblical prophecy teachers will tell you that the first 3 are Babylon, Iraq, Persia, Iran, and then Grecian, which is Javan, which is Turkey, okay, which is what Yeshua says in Revelation 2:12-13. Satan's throne is in Western Turkey, Pergamus, Turkey. So most biblical prophecy teachers will believe that the first 3 are Iraq, Iran, and Turkey for this conversation. Well, my friends, if that's the case and we're living at the end of the age, then you saw Iraq fall in 2003 with Saddam Hussein by America, right? So that was the first kingdom that fell. Well, just like the prophet said in Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, the 2nd kingdom is going to rise, Iran. Well, that surely is what's happened since 2003. Iran has risen to power, and we all can agree with that. Obviously, that's why America and Israel and Iran are fighting right now, because they're a superpower. No longer because they're going to be diminished here, but then they'll be crushed in Daniel 8 as well. Excuse me. So my friends, if we understand the trajectory of the first 4 or the 4 kingdoms of Daniel, okay, it's going to show us biblical prophecy till the end of the age, till Yeshua returns. Okay, Daniel 2:28. This is Daniel 2. This is the statue dream in Daniel 2. Daniel 2:28, verse 28. Very important. It says, Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar, this is for the end of the age, is what he told him. Okay, so we can't put these 2,500 years ago. That would be erroneous in biblical eschatology. Daniel 2:28 says this is for the end. Okay, the entire vision. He didn't say that at the 4th kingdom. He said that before the 1st kingdom. So he's talking about all of these kingdoms that will rise to power, and then the end will come after that, when Yeshua crushes all of them together, which is the beast kingdom. Okay, so my friends, if we understand where we are right now, we're in that 2nd kingdom in Daniel 2. Okay, the 3rd kingdom is Turkey. Okay, look at where Turkey is right now in the Middle East. Any military geopolitical analyst or someone who knows what's going on in biblical prophecy will tell you Turkey's the next big one. Even Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that. Even the ex-prime minister, what's his name? I forget. Naftali Bennett has said that as well, that Turkey is next. So they are following exactly the way that biblical prophecy is going right now, the Jewish leadership over there, the Israeli government. So hats off to them. But you have to understand that's the first three kingdoms that's going to rise to power, and then the beast kingdom is after that, the 10 kings, okay? So my friends, I wanted to set this up. We have to know these four kingdoms in Daniel 2 and also in Daniel 7. It's the same kingdoms, but just they're represented in beast, okay? They're represented in a lion, a bear, and a leopard, okay? So the lion is Iraq, Babylon. They fell in 2003. Medo-Persia, the bear was right now. Medo-Persia, Iran, that's where we are, the bear. And then next, here comes the leopard, which is the Grecian Empire or the Turks. The Ottoman Empire or Turkey will be next. And then the beast kingdom will be all three of those in one kingdom. What do I mean by that? Revelation 13:1 says this. The Apostle John says this. He said, I saw one beast, and that beast was a lion, a bear, and a leopard. What does that mean? He's saying go back to Daniel 7 and understand the first three kingdoms, because they're going to be the conglomerate fourth kingdom, okay? The prophet said he saw a beast, and it was a lion, a rock, a bear, Iran, and a leopard, which is the Grecian Empire of Turkey. Okay, and it's going to be a conglomerate of all of those kingdoms. It's really pretty phenomenal how they wrote it, okay? And in that beast, Revelation 13, it has 10 horns, okay? And look at Daniel 7's fourth beast, 10 horns, okay? So it's a match. It's perfect, okay? So we have to understand that. So I say that to understand that Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are sister chapters. You're going down that rhythm, okay? You're in the second of the fourth kingdom. Okay, so that gives us to Daniel 10. Daniel 10 and Daniel 8 are transitional chapters of the second kingdom to the third kingdom. What do I mean by that is there's going to be three wars, okay, to get you to the third kingdom. We're seeing the second war right now with Daniel 10, and then we'll see Daniel 8's war after this. So I want to show you that in the scriptures. Most people, I think we can identify we're living in Daniel 10. We're living in Daniel 2, Daniel 7 in the second kingdom. And Daniel 10 and Daniel 8 will show you the transition between the second kingdom to the third kingdom. And after that, my friends, it's going to be to the beast kingdom right after that, because the leopard is quick. It's a predator. It's swift. That's why the Lord put a leopard in the Turkey, is because it's going to be quick, kind of like when they took over Syria in 11 days, okay? It's going to be quick. The bear, Persia, has been in power for 23 years, ever since Iraq fell in 2003. The bear has been slowly moving to its termination, okay? And this is another war that's going to bring them to that termination, is Daniel 10 with America, Israel, and Iran. And we'll get to that more after this with the geopolitical, the economic effects, and etc. And then you'll have Turkey come next, and we'll get into that as well. So my friends, these two chapters are sister chapters, Daniel 2, Daniel 7, 4 kingdoms, and then the fifth kingdom, which will be the kingdom of Israel, okay? So this is what I want to tell all my Jewish friends right now, that it's not our time right now. Our time is when the Messiah returns. When he returns, it's our kingdom then. Our kingdom will not be established now, or the greater Israel will not be established now, because of biblical prophecy, and also for what Messiah says, the Mosaic covenant says, etc., etc. Okay, so I wanted to show you Daniel 2, the statue dream, Daniel 7, the 4 beast dream, and they're the same chapters, okay, same kingdoms, but again, different chapters. 2 witnesses does establish the matter. So that's why we look at both chapters together, because there's only 2 chapters in the Bible that has 4 kingdoms in a row, with the 5th kingdom coming to the kingdom of Israel, okay? So again, these are the kingdoms in order. We're in the second kingdom right now, the Medo-Persia. Media is the Kurds, and we're going to get to that later. The Media is Kurds. Persia is Iran, okay? Very important to understand this, the Kurds and Iran. And we'll get to Daniel 8 to show you the difference in those, okay? So right now, if we can all agree that we're living in the Medo-Persia Iranian kingdom right now, that's what Persia was called in the day, was Persia. It's a cool name. I like the word Persia. Iran was called that after the revolution happened in 1979, okay? So with that being said, now we're going to go through the transition chapters of Medo-Persia to the Grecian Empire, or from Iran to Turkey in the modern day names, okay? So this is Daniel 10. We read it a couple of weeks ago. excuse me, when the war started. We read this. This is a fulfillment. We're living in, I mean, it's totally amazing to think about, isn't it? We're living in this chapter with biblical prophecy. It says it's for the latter days, and it says 2 wars between Israel and Iran, and then here comes Javan, or Turkey. So I want to show you that in the scriptures, because we're going to read it one time through, and I'm not going to read it again, so we can move forward, because we're mostly familiar with this chapter on the channel. And then I'll show you Daniel 8 and show you just the first few sentences of the chapter to confirm what's about to happen. And I want to show you guys something that came to my mind. And again, I've always had an opinion about Daniel 8 on one of the sentences, but it could have changed since this war began. And we'll talk about that. We'll just talk about it in, I guess, just the way we talk. But at the same time, we need to discuss these things, because you could be seeing a Daniel 10 to Daniel 8 transition if Turkey gets involved. If Turkey gets involved in this war, there's been 2 missiles flying in Turkey's airspace. If they get involved in this war, this thing could transition right into Daniel 8. Okay, and I'm going to show you why. I'm not saying it's going to, but it could possibly happen. And then we can read it together and everybody can make their own judgments. Okay, but Daniel 10 and Daniel 8 are transitional chapters between the 2nd kingdom and the 3rd kingdom of Daniel's prophecies. There's 4 of them, 4 kingdoms. This is between the 2nd and the 3rd kingdom, okay? And we're going to read chapter 10, and then we'll go into chapter 8 right after this. Excuse me one moment, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we look at chapter 10, this is chapter 10 of Daniel's prophecies. It says this: in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? A word was revealed to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, and the word was true and one of great conflict. Okay, please remember that. It's a great conflict only, but he understood the word and had understanding of what had appeared. In those days, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 entire weeks. I did not eat any tasty food, nor did meat or wine enter my mouth, nor did I use any anointment at all until the entire 3 weeks were fulfilled. And on the 24th day of the 1st month, while I was by the bank of the river, that is the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and I looked, and behold, there was a certain man dressed in linen, whose loins were girded with a belt of purifying gold of Uphaz. His body was also like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like the flaming torches. His arms and his feet, the gleam of burnished bronze. And the sounds of his words were like the sound of a multitude. Now I, Daniel, alone saw the vision that appeared, but the men who were with me did not see the vision that appeared. Nevertheless, a great terror fell on them, and they ran away to hide themselves. So I alone remained and saw this great vision that appeared, and yet no might remained in me, for my outward splendor turned to a deathly pallor, and I retained no might. But I heard the sound of his words, and as soon as I heard the sound of his words, I fell into a deep sleep on my face, with my face to the ground. Then behold, a hand touched me and set me shaking on my hands and my knees. And he said to me, O Daniel, man of high esteem, understand the words that I'm about to speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. And when he had spoken this word to me, I stood up trembling. Then he said to me, do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you gave your heart to understand this, which was 3 weeks of the fast, and to humble yourself before your Elohim, your words were heard, and I've come in response to your words. And listen to what he says. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia, Iran, was standing against me for 21 days. And then behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Okay, so that is round 1, okay, of the Iran-Israel fight right here, okay? Now I had been left with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to give you understanding of what will happen to your people in the latter days, the end of the age, for the vision pertains to the days yet future, which is right now. Now when he had spoken to me according to these words, I turned my face to the ground and became speechless. And behold, one in the likeness of the sons of men was touching my lips. Then I opened my mouth and I spoke and said to him who was standing before me, O my Lord, as a result of the vision that appeared, pains have come upon me, and I have retained no might. Now, how can such a servant of my Lord talk with such as my Lord? As for me, right now, no might stands within me, nor does any breath remain within me. Then this one with the appearance of a man touched me again and strengthened me. And he said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Gather strength and be strong. Now, as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength, and he said, may my Lord, or I said, may my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, do you know why I came to you? But I shall now return to fight against the prince of Persia. Okay, so my friends, that is round number 2. He was fighting with him before, and he came to Daniel. And then on this verse, he had to go back and fight him again. Okay, so that's 2 rounds that they were going to fight. The first round that we saw in June, and now we're seeing the second round now. And then look at what it says. Now I am going forth, and behold, the prince of Greece, or Javan, is about to come. However, I will tell you what is inscribed in the written of truth. Now there is no one who exerts strength with me, excuse me, against these forces, except Michael, your prince. Okay, so my friends, this is pretty interesting when you look at this chapter. And again, we've discussed this a couple weeks ago when the war started, and also many other times with the blood moons and all of these things. This is truly amazing about what we're seeing right now, according to Daniel 10. As you have read, he says, this is for the last days, the latter days, the last days, okay? So we got to realize that, and we are living in those days, right? So we saw the first round of the kingdom of Persia in June, the 12-day war, and now we're seeing the second round of the Persia and Israel. Iran and Israel fight each other now. Okay, now look at what he says. He says, coming next is the prince of Javan, or the kingdom of Javan. That is Turkey, okay? Greece is a mistranslation in the Bible. They put it in there because of Alexander the Great. That's why everybody thinks it's been fulfilled. But Daniel 10 would disagree with that. Daniel 10 says, for the last days, Alexander lived 2,500 years ago. It wasn't talking about Alexander, it's talking about right now. Okay, so we got to realize that and not be deceived by the translations, because we just got to do logic understanding. The last days is not 2,500 years ago with Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, and Alexander. It is for right now with Saddam Hussein, Khamenei, and Erdogan. Okay, that's who we're looking at right now. So we got to realize that. We got to put these prophecies at the end of the age, not 2,500 years ago, because when the fourth kingdom comes, people are going to be caught as a thief in the night, because they're going to not understand what's going down, because they don't understand the trajectory that we're kind of showing everybody. Iraq, Iran, Persia, Turkey, beast kingdom. Okay, that's what's coming. Okay, there's no redemption coming right now. Only these empires going down, just like Daniel has said. Okay, over and over we're seeing this, and it's going down just like this prophet has written down. This guy lived 2,500 years ago, everybody, and these prophecies are for right now, the end of the age, the latter days. Daniel 2:28 says that. Daniel 8:17 through 20 says that. Daniel 10 says that. Daniel 12:4 says that. So I'm not sure why everybody thinks these things were historical, because the end of the age is not 2,500 years ago on the timeline. It's right now, and you're seeing some amazing things, terrible, but you're seeing some amazing things prophetically, biblically speaking, over in the Middle East. So my friends, it doesn't get much better than this, biblical prophecy speaking, okay? Because you're living where most prophets would have loved to see these things go down. Okay, remember Daniel prophecies, he was looking for the answer on some cases because he wanted to understand. And he did understand, and that's why he was sick to his stomach in Daniel 10. He wasn't celebrating. He was sick to his stomach because of the Israelis who have been killed in this war right now and all the destruction going on in Israel right now. This is why this prophet was sick and not celebrating Ain't Life Grand, because we're attacking Iran. There's an other side to that. Daniel was sick to his stomach because of the destruction that was coming to his people. And now go take a look at Israel. Go take a look at Tel Aviv. Go take a look at Haifa, Jerusalem, southern Israel. Go take a look at what you can take a look at, and you will see a lot of bad stuff. Okay, so this prophet was sick to his stomach, not gloating, not being arrogant like some of our leaders are right now, not being arrogant about these situations. He was sick to his stomach because he loves his people. Okay, and so that's what you'll find in Daniel 8. Daniel, everywhere he was sick, seeing these things because of what's coming upon the Jewish people, okay? So we got to understand the trajectory of what he was feeling and try to get into that understanding as well, and knowing that this is not going to be an easy thing. And of course, it hasn't been an easy thing, just like we were saying however long we did the video, 10, 12 days ago. Okay, very important to understand. So Daniel 10 will leave you hanging a little bit. But we're not hanging if we go to Daniel 8. Okay, so again, we're going to show you this transition between the second kingdom and the third kingdom. Daniel 10, Iran and Israel had to go at it a couple of times because they hate each other. And here you go. And here we are. And then here we go with Javan, or Greece, is coming next. So Daniel is leaving you with a little cliffhanger here because it ends abruptly right here. Look at what he says right here. So again, he came the first time. Okay, you've been fasting, Daniel, but I was held up by the kingdom of Persia. That's round one, June, the 12-day war. And then here we go again. At the very end, he says, now I've got to go back and I've got to go fight Iran again. This is right now because the first time was June, the 12-day war. Now you're right here in the second round, and look at what he says. However, okay, so I'm going forth to go fight the kingdom of Persia again, and behold, the prince of Greece, Javan, Turkey, is about to come. Okay, so we've got to understand that it's coming right after Persia. Here comes Javan, here comes Turkey. And now we go into Daniel 8, my friends, and this is going to be an amazing chapter to go through. I'm going to give you some ideas that I personally have had about this chapter, even more so than I've discussed for about 10 years now with this chapter. But this chapter will show you again the true transition between Persia and Javan. Israel and America and Iran twice, no victories either way, because it says it's a great conflict. That's what Daniel 10 says. It's a great conflict. And certainly that's what it is right now, and no signs of slowing down from what I understand. So now let's go to Daniel 8, because Daniel 10 left us with that cliffhanger of after Persia, here comes Javan, and he ends the chapter like that. So now let's go to Daniel 8 and look at the language in Daniel 8, and you tell me who crushes Persia after this, okay? So let's go to the biblical prophet Daniel, Daniel 8, and let's look here. I'm going to go to the kind of the end and work my way back, because we're not going to go through every bit of this prophecy. I'm going to just go to the very first of it, because there's no need to, because we're not there yet. But I wanted to show you guys really quick. This is, again, I could show people this forever, and people are going to still put Alexander the Great in this prophecy. Look at what Daniel 8:15 through 19 says, everybody. Then it happened, when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and was seeking the meaning, that suddenly there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, and called and said, Gabriel. So here, this is Archangel Gabriel. Make Daniel understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and I fell on my face. But he said to me, understand, Daniel, son of man, that the vision refers to the time of the end, not Alexander the Great. Now, as he was speaking to me, I was in a deep sleep with my face to the ground, but he touched me. Gabriel touched Daniel and stood him upright and said, look, Daniel, I am making known to you what shall happen when in the latter time of indignation, for at the appointed time, the end shall be. So my friends, like I said, I can show people this verbatim, and they will say, Alexander the Great. No, he says at the end, the end, the end, the end, not 2,500 years ago, everybody. So all of these prophecy teachers are wrong dividing this prophecy up. It's going to deceive a lot of people, and people aren't going to know what's going down. Daniel 8 will happen before Ezekiel 38 is what I'm trying to prove tonight. Daniel 10, you're seeing it now, the second round. Then here comes Javan, not the beast kingdom. And then here comes Javan to crush Persia. And then Persia will be underneath Turkey, just like Ezekiel 38 says. And then they will come against Jerusalem, not before that. There's so much erroneous stuff out there. The Ezekiel 38 war, no, it's not. It's Turkey first, and then Turkey will be the leader. And I'll show you that in Ezekiel 38. If you're not familiar with that, I'll show you that next. But my friends, we've got to take him what he says. And if everybody understands the 6,000 years or 6 days of creation or everything that we're going to be here for, then Alexander and those guys lived half of the timeline. They lived 2,500 years ago. How could anybody think that's the end of the age? Okay, 2,500 years ago. No, it's right now is the end of the age. And this is what you're about to see coming after this. Okay, you're going to see Turkey become great, and then you're going to see them absolutely rock them. I'm talking about Persia. They're going to rock them really hard, more so than what you're seeing now is not what Daniel 8 is talking about. Daniel 8 will talk about a total, we'll read the prophecy and you tell me. Okay, so just understand, Daniel 8 17 through 20 says for the end of the age 3 times. Goodness, 3 times he says it. Now, let's go look at who these people are, and then we'll read the prophecy so that we could just read the first couple of lines and everybody be on the same page, okay? So again, if you're just joining us, there's 4 kingdoms that will rise in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 2, 4 kingdoms: Babylon, Iraq, Persia, Iran, the Grecian Empire, Turkey, and then the 4th kingdom will be the beast kingdom, okay? Daniel 7, same kingdoms, just related to us in beast, same empires: Iraq, Babylonian Empire, lion; bear, Persia, lion; Turkey, the Grecian Empire, and then they will come into the conglomerate, like Revelation 13 says. Both of them have 10 horns. And he's talking about Daniel 7's 3 beasts coming into 1 beast, okay? No Roman Empire, everybody. How's that going for Rome? You think Rome's rising right now? Goodness gracious, Turkey is rising right now, and they would crush Rome completely if they rose up to challenge them, okay? So we've got to understand not only biblical prophecy, but also geopolitics, and understand where every country sits right now. Do you think Europe's going to rise up right now? Does anyone think that Europe's worried about Russia right now, and good reason, because Russia will rock them if they get involved in this war. Europe can't be, I love the Europeans, but they need to get rid of every one of these limp-wristed presidents and prime ministers over there that are taking them to just bad times, okay? I mean, they've been Islamatized over there because of these leaders. They need to get them out, and they'll have more success, but they're not rising. Europe is falling, just like America is falling. Look at the numbers, look at the math, look at the economics, get out of the pride, look at the economics. Okay, and economics is going to take Europe down, and economics is going to take America down. Why? Because it's the power shifting back to the east, everybody, to these 4 kingdoms that's going to rise to power to come against the Jewish people, okay? So we've got to understand where we are and understand all this European pride, American pride, and all this stuff. The Western civilizations are being collapsing, if you haven't noticed already. And this war is only going to collapse America even more because of the stupidity that we go at wars with. Okay, that's just, I'll go through the economics and you tell me already, okay, and I'll say this really quick, already in 12 days, I would say even a week, the American military and naval influence across the Gulf nations have been totally ruined. Donald Trump in 12 days have ruined our naval bases, our military bases, our CIA offices. All of the Gulf nations it's over with the American dominance of the military because there's no bases anymore. They've blown up every one of our bases. So this guy has basically flushed down the toilet decades of money and relationships going into the Gulf nations. And we can't protect those people. We look like idiots over there. We can't protect the Gulf nations. We can't protect Israel. We can't protect no one over there. So America is going to be, after this is over and the pride comes down of the American people or who wants this war, you're going to see America's influence in the Middle East go down. It's already, we don't have any credibility. We don't have any bases. We don't have any, go look at the facts on the ground. And in 12 days, we've been run out of the Middle East with our power. With our things. We can't keep naval bases all over there all the time, my friends. We can't keep naval ships over there landing airplanes on every day of the year, can we? You have to have countries with military bases and things to help you. And every one of those bases have been destroyed, okay, by the Iranians. So the economic impact for this country is tremendous. It's going to add up. We haven't seen nothing yet. But wait till all the calculations come out and all of this pride comes down after the numbers come out, after the Americans are paying the price. Not right now. This is nothing. Wait till the price comes in years to come. In years to come, the price will come. So we'll talk about that more. But my friends, if we don't understand the trajectory of these 4 kingdoms, we're going to be caught up in all this nonsense that all these other people are caught up in. A lot of nonsense because everybody's looking at just the military power. Okay, great, wonderful. Everybody knows what America can do. Everybody knows what Israel can do. But what cost are we doing that as? What economic cost? What relationship cost? What? Look at the Middle East. Look at the Gulf nations. And what I say to the Gulf nations is welcome to the party. Welcome to the party, because they've caused a lot of evil across the Middle East as well. Supporting Hamas, supporting Hezbollah, supporting the evil Sudan, supporting that civil war, the UAE. And what I say, just like Bruce Willis said in Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal, because those folks need to get in the game, and they're in the game now. That's not going to be good for the United States, because I think the Gulf nations know that we cannot protect them anymore. I think that's been proven. We cannot protect Israel anymore, or should we? God is the protector of Israel. Okay, let's understand that. He's the one that doesn't slumber or doesn't sleep. Okay, not America. Israel's God and King and Adonai Zavaot is Yah, not any other military force on this earth. That is blasphemy. That's an abomination. And that is an insult to our Savior and our Father in heaven, that the Jewish people call on America to do that. Okay, so just understand that. That is biblical. Isaiah 30:31, Jeremiah 2, Hosea 5 will tell you, do not go to a foreign nation for military assistance. Unfortunately, our Jewish brothers and sisters over there, who we love and stand with, they're not listening to the prophets, okay? And that's why we're going to have bad things come, because no one's listening to the biblical prophets. You know, everybody's listening to politicians instead of the biblical prophets. So we got to really understand this, where we are. This is not fear mongering. This is nothing. This is just, please wake up and understand where we are, and get off all this idolatry that we're seeing with the world right now. Unfortunately, our Jewish friends and our Christian friends are in idolatry because of the worldly behaviors and the worldly matters that they're concerned with. They're not concerned with the book of Daniel. They're not concerned with what's going down. And the message is repentance is what the message is. It's not pride, ego, arrogance, none of that stuff that we see from the American leadership and the Israeli leadership. It's humility, it's repentance, it's teshuvah. Because again, to my Jewish friends out there, everybody knows what the Mosaic covenant stands for, right? If you in the land, Jewish people know this, if you're in the land, you've got to obey. If you do not obey, then he's not going to give you the blessings. That's the nicest way to put it. If you want the hardcore way to put it, then go read what Moses said in Deuteronomy 28-30, right? Everybody loves Moses, right? Go read that, and we'll see who loves Moses or not. In Deuteronomy 28-30, it shows the blessings and the curses. Please understand, we're at the back end of that, the curses. Okay, we got to understand where we are. Okay, as Americans as well. I mean, everybody in the world needs to understand that he's turned these folks over in the Middle East and North Africa to the prophecies of the Bible. That's it. Jewish people are dying, Iranians are dying, Iraqis are dying, everybody's dying. You tell me, is he showing any partiality? No, he's not. He's turned everybody over to the biblical prophets, because look at the behavior going on in the Middle East, and America is smack dab in the middle of it, as always, with doing all this stuff, and people are tired of it. We'll talk about that more as we go down, but my friends, if we understand the trajectory, if we understand Daniel 2, Daniel 7, the four kingdoms, we're not going to be caught, excuse me, as a thief in the night. We're going to understand the trajectory that we are on. So just like Daniel 10, the transitional kingdom chapters between these four kingdoms, okay, Daniel 10 and Daniel 8, okay? We just read Daniel 10, and the way that it left off was after the second round of Persia and Israel, we're going to have Javan. We're going to have Greece, okay? It doesn't let up, okay? And that's what our Jewish friends need to understand. It's going to just crank up even more intensity, more intensity. The JV teams haven't worked. Hamas hasn't worked. Hezbollah hasn't worked. Houthis haven't worked. Here comes the varsity teams, okay? Here comes Iran. Here comes Turkey. Here comes the Beast Kingdom. Here comes Antichrist or Nebuchadnezzar. That is what you're going to see, okay? Not redemption until that time. Redemption will be after all of these times, because our Jewish friends need to repent, and the American Christians, everybody needs to repent because of what's going down right now with everybody's attitude and behavior at the end of the age. God is telling us to get ready, to get ready for what's coming. So Daniel 10, two wars between Israel and Iran, the kingdom of Persia. We're seeing the second one right now. That's pretty obvious. And now we get into Daniel 8. Daniel 8, you have the end of the age. Daniel 8, 15 through 19 says three times, this is for the end of the age. He tells Daniel three times, that is, not 2,500 years ago. And now we have the kingdoms, okay? So look at verse 20. The ram, we're going to go back and read the first of it, but the ram which you saw having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. It tells you who it is. It's Iran and the Kurds. The Kurds are Media. Okay, as the male goat is the kingdom of Javan, not Greece, Javan, Western Turkey. I'll show you where that is once we get to Ezekiel 38. And then the large horn is between his eyes is the first king. That's Erdogan. And then he will be broken. And then Antichrist will come after the four regions come next. Okay, but the main thing, my friends, I wanted to show you tonight is this is for the end of the age, Daniel 8, 15 through 19. He tells us who these people are. You don't have to guess. And now let's go read the beginning of it. I wanted to show you guys this, okay? So now that we all can agree that we're living, excuse me, that this prophecy is for the end of the age, then, and you know who's in this prophecy now, Iran and Turkey. Now let's read this prophecy, and I want to show you guys something that came to mind. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time. I saw the vision, and it so happened while I was still looking, I was in Shushan, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw the vision that I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted my eyes, and I saw, and there standing beside the river was a ram. It had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. Excuse me. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver him from his hand, but he did according to his will, and he became great. Okay, so we're going to stop right here. Very important. We're not going to go through this whole chapter. We're going to go through this one and maybe one more scroll just to show you guys what's about to go down. So what does he say? In the 3rd year of Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belshazzar, a vision appeared to Daniel. Excuse me, my friends. We're being pollinated down here in the south, so please forgive me. It's pretty rough out there right now with allergies. But he sees in a vision first of all, he was in Shushan of Elam. Let me show you where that is, because I wanted to make a point really quick. This is where Elam is, okay, in the Bible. This is where Iraq, you see where Iraq is, where it says Assyria, but today it's Iraq. This is an ancient map, but this is Assyria, but really today that's Iraq, Babylon. Elam is right there by Babylon on the Persian Gulf, right where you enter in Persia or Iran today, okay? This is what I want to make, and I don't mean this any kind of way. You hear all over the internet, Jeremiah 49, God's going to put his throne in Elam right now. No, he is not. The Jewish people will not do that right now. He's going to do that at the end of the age. They're not going to put God's throne in Elam. That would be blasphemy again, with the work of their own hands again. So I don't know where these prophecy teachers are coming up with this stuff. That's only Yeshua that's going to do that, put the throne of his father in Elam. Why do I know that? Because Daniel 8, he comes through there, just like you saw. Daniel was standing in Elam when he saw this great war that's going to happen here soon, okay? That's at the bottom of Iraq, Persia Gulf, right there, the connection right there. That's where Daniel saw the vision. When Alexander the Great conquered Persia, where did he go through? Where did he go? He went through Elam. He went through that same orange spot that I'm showing you guys. Please look it up. When Alexander the Great conquered Elam or Persia, all of Persia, which hasn't been done but a few times, by the way, everybody, but Alexander the Great did it, and he went through Elam to get there, okay? So that tells me, I mean, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it does rhyme, as Mark Twain said. And I believe you're going to see the same thing. So God's throne will be put in Elam at the second coming events, okay? Not before that by, if I can say this, by people who aren't believers yet, okay? They're secular, the government's secular. They won't be given the glory to do that. Now, they just won't be given the credit to do that, of course, because they're not being blessed right now. It's in the cursing stage of the Torah, of the Mosaic covenant right now. Okay, so that's why you're not seeing them get easy victories with Hamas, easy victories with Hezbollah. You know, Hamas is still there, Hezbollah is still there, you know, Houthis are still there. So that's why I'm saying none of that Jeremiah 49 until the second coming events. That should be obvious to anybody who's serious about biblical prophecy and understand that Jeremiah 46 through 52 is the day of the Lord. Ezekiel 25 through 32, the day of the Lord. Isaiah 10 through 23, the day of the Lord, the judgment of the nations. Israel doesn't have that authority to do that. Okay, they don't. Well, how's that going, by the way? Okay, so of course they don't have that authority. Only he's going to do that. And once we get our Jewish friends to understand that and the Israelis to understand that, they're going to be in a better prophetic understanding of where we are right now. Right now, everybody's calling for Ezekiel 38, 39, the Purim deliverance, and what's the other one? Jeremiah 49. None of those are where we are right now. They're just not. I love them. Love everybody. But we're, biblically speaking, we're not in Jeremiah 49. That's the day of the Lord. Yeshua is going to do that, not Benjamin Netanyahu. Come on, give me a break. Okay, so we got to understand that Ezekiel head. Turkey's the head. Okay. And then what's the other one? The Purim deliverance? No, we're in the 12th day of the war, not 2-day war. Okay. So we've got to realize, get off of some of this hysterical stuff that's going on right now and get into the scriptures, because my people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's where we are, unfortunately, in Israel today. And unfortunately, that's where we are in America today. And unfortunately, that's where we are across the world. And only the remnant is going to understand these things. Only the remnant. Everybody else deceived, because everybody's got the hysterical of the political Israel and the political Americans. Okay. We got to get out of that political stuff, because people don't know what's going down because of that, because they can't see clearly by focusing on Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu or Ahi Khamenei. Okay. None of these people, Erdogan, Putin, whoever you want to put in there. Forget all these worldly leaders. These worldly leaders are leading you to one place only, and that's the Battle of Armageddon, the 10 kings. That's where this is all going, if you haven't kept up with the biblical understanding of the maps. Okay. So we got to get back to this understanding that this is a process. This is a long process. We've got at least 10.5 years before Yeshua could return, at least. Okay, so that's by the Shemitah cycle, everybody, Leviticus 25. Okay, so this is not setting dates. This is times and seasons, times and seasons. Paul said, understand the times and the seasons. So if we understand that, we're going to understand the Shemitah cycle. We're going to understand where we are. And we're in the middle of the Shemitah cycle, which means Yeshua cannot come back until 10.5 more years. Okay, at least, okay, because it's going to be on that Shemitah cycle. And we have to get back to it. So Daniel saw this vision in Elam. He was in the province of Elam by the river Ulai, which is basically the borderline between Iraq and Iran. And he saw this vision. Okay, so that's where he was when he saw it, was by the river Ulai in the province of Elam. And this is why, again, the Jewish people won't put the throne in Elam right now, because it's the Daniel 10 war. And then here comes Daniel 8 after that. And Daniel's in by the river Ulai in Elam. Okay, so we got to get back to geography, and also the understanding that only Yeshua the Messiah is going to put his father's throne in Elam, not a government that's not believers. Okay, so we got to really understand that. Okay, so then look at what he saw. I lifted up my eyes and I saw a ram, okay, standing by the river with 2 horns. 2 horns were high, one was higher than the other. The higher one came up last. So my friends, what I think is going on, and just my personal opinion is this, is let me show you a map. It might make better sense if I can show you guys this map, what has happened to the Kurdish people, the small horn, and what's about to happen to the large horn, not with American Israel, but with Turkey. Give me 1 second really quick. Excuse me. Okay, so let me supersize this for everybody. And so this is what I'm talking about in this prophecy. What's come to my mind in this prophecy, that could it be, when he's describing the 2 horns, the larger horn and the shorter horn, Media or the Kurds is the smaller horn. Do they get pushed over first and then Iran gets attacked second, Persia, because of the larger horn? What do I mean by that? I mean, if you look at my arrow here, if you look at the arrow here, this is the Euphrates River. The Kurdish people were all in this area until recently, okay? Here's the Euphrates, and the Kurdish people were all in Aleppo, Raqqa, all these areas, okay? Since Sharara, the terrorist, Al-Qaeda terrorist who took over Syria because of Turkey, Turkey owns this state. It's kind of like a Turkish state now. But since they took it over about 1.5 years ago and 11 days, the Kurds in this area from the Euphrates up, they have been pushed over to basically right here in the the northeast part of the country. Okay. So could it be, what I'm trying to say, in Daniel 8, there were 2 horns that rose up to power. Okay. There was a smaller horn, which is representative of the Kurds or the Medes. Okay. Because they're the smaller of them, between them and Persia. And then Persia was the larger horn that came up last. So could it be that we're witnessing the first part of this prophecy, because Daniel 10 and Daniel 8 are going to kind of be together, because Javan and Persia is in both of them. So now we go to Daniel 8, you've got Javan and Persia again, and no Israel this time. You just got those 2 battling it out, like we will see. So could it be that Turkey, with Syria's help, have moved the Kurds over to northern Iraq and really northeast Syria, crushing that smaller horn already on the ram. And then at the appointed time after this war with Israel and Iran, they'll go over there and they'll crush the higher horn, which is Persia. So I don't know. I just started thinking about that the other day. I was like, couldn't we see it? Because I'll tell you some more of my thoughts as we get through the prophecy, that this prophecy could be in alignment with Daniel 10, because Javan and Persia's in Daniel 10. Persia and Israel's fighting twice. And then at the end, Daniel says that Javan's coming next. So then go to Daniel 8, we have Persia and Javan. Persia's this ram going westward, northward, and southward. And then Turkey comes over and crushes them. And I'm going to get to a point that I wanted to make with that as well. But again, we just got to see what happens. But I wanted to bring that to you because could it be that the Kurds are already getting rock and rolled right now in Daniel 8, the smaller horn? And then once that's done, and also this war with Iran's done, then Daniel 8, Turkey will come over and crush Persia as well. Okay, so let me go back to the prophecy and we'll continue to read. Excuse me, everybody. Let me go back to the prophecy and read, but again, I'll read it and then we'll go forward. In the third year of Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, beside the one that appeared to me in Daniel 7. I saw the vision, and so happened while I was looking, was in Shushan, the citadel, the province of Elam. I saw in the vision, I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw there, standing beside the river, was a ram which had two horns. The two horns were high, but one was higher than the other. So the Kurds or the Medes will be smaller, and Persia or Iran will have the higher horn. I saw the ram, Medo-Persia, pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there anyone that could deliver him from his hand, but he did according to his will, and he became great. Okay, so this is what Iran has done ever since Israel, ever since Iraq has fallen. This is what Iran has done through their proxies. They have major influence. Now go from 2003 to right now, they've had major influence in Iraq because Iraq fell. They had major influence in Syria with Assad until Assad got conquered by Turkey. They have major influence with Hezbollah in Lebanon, as we know. They have major leverage with Hamas as well, and then also the Houthi rebels. So I was thinking about this the other day, my friends, and just like the prophecy said, the ram was marching westward, northward, and southward. So I'll be honest with you guys, like I have all these videos, I've said the same thing. I've always thought this. I've always thought that Iran did that with the proxies, right? In Iraq, you know, they have influence with Maliki, the president of Iraq, or the prime minister of Iraq, Maliki, after Iraq was an Iranian agent, if you will. So they had proxies in Iraq. They were using them in Hezbollah, also the Houthis, and also Hamas. So for me, I thought that this prophecy was being fulfilled with Iran's part for the last 23 years. And I believe that's the case. And I'm about to get into a further point, but I believe that they fulfilled that through their proxies, because Iran's not going to march all over the Middle East to do this. They just won't be able to do that. Turkey will not allow that at all. And they have the 1 million-man army that would stop that, okay, that are border neighbors. So Iran's not going to march across the Middle East, and that's why I thought the proxies is what Daniel was speaking of. He's going to march northward, westward, and southward. Okay, so now I think I'm going to share something with you guys. Now, since we've seen what Iran has done, okay, with the war right now, they've shot missiles southward. I mean, the Gulf nations, we'll get to that. The Gulf nations, I think everybody can agree with that. They are getting absolutely hammered. Tehran's getting hammered. Tel Aviv's getting hammered. Everybody's getting hammered. But in this prophecy, it says that they march westward, northward, and southward. They're not going to march north, westward, and southward the way that most people think. Their army's not going to do that. They can't do that. They will not do that, okay? Turkey will not allow that, and they've got the army, like I said, to make that not to happen. Okay, so could it be that some of the things that we're seeing right now with Iran shooting rockets northward, southward, and westward is really what I'm talking about? They're shooting missiles in all directions that this prophecy is saying. Is this the finality of what Daniel 8 is saying? Because right after this, my friends, when you look at this prophecy of Daniel 8, so Iran becomes great. They march northward, southward, and westward, and they certainly have their proxies, okay, with in Iraq. Like I said, they had influence with Syria until Turkey took them over, got them out of there. And then they had Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. So they've had major influence in the Middle East, as we can say. And now let's read what comes right after this. While Daniel was looking at the power of Iraq, let's look at what happens right after that. Okay. And this is Daniel 8, 5 through 7. And look at what he says. And as I was considering, as he was seeing this go down, suddenly a male goat came from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Then he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. And I saw him confronting the ram. He was moved with rage to attack him. He attacked the ram, broke his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to withstand him. But he cast him down to the ground and trampled him, and there was no one that could deliver Iran from Turkey's hand. Okay, my friends, you see that right there. Daniel 10 does not use that kind of language between Israel and Persia. It does not use that kind of language of destruction that you're seeing right here. Daniel 10 says it's a great conflict only, okay, between Persia and Israel, okay, and also America. But it doesn't say America, but America is involved, of course, but it doesn't see destruction in there. It says it's a great conflict only in Daniel 10. So this is a great conflict. Look at the destruction going on in Tehran. Look at the destruction going on in Tel Aviv. Look at the destruction in Jerusalem, Haifa, you name it. And also the Gulf nations, welcome to the party, okay, because they've never experienced anything like this at all. Missiles flying through those skyscrapers, welcome to the party, prosperity Islamists who have been sponsoring terror all across the land, and killing the Jewish people, killing Americans, killing Sudanese, all of these people, welcome to the party. Now it's on their land. So my friends, you see it right here, and I'm going to read this again in order, and I won't stop, and then we'll talk about it when I end it. But let's read Daniel 8 again, and just like we've shown everybody, this is for the end of the age, everybody. Daniel 8, 17 through 20, it says this. 15 through 19, it says, for the end of the age 3 times right here. So I read this before, but if you're new and you just joined us, just please know Daniel 8 is for the end of the age. Gabriel told Daniel 3 times in this section right here, Daniel 8, 15 through 19. This is for the end, Daniel, for the end only. So now, and then it tells us who it is. The ram is Medo-Persia, and then the male goat is Javan. And now when we read this, we can just see it go down the way he said it. Okay, I'm going to just pick up right here. Then I lifted up my eyes and I saw there standing by the river a ram with 2 horns, and 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher horn came up last, which is Persia. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand, but he did according to his will, and he became great. I think we can all agree that Iran has done according to their will in the last 23 years, sponsoring terror groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, spreading evil, killing Jewish people, all these things, all these people, okay? I'm not saying there's another side to this, but just in this prophecy, go with this, and then we'll balance it out later. But they've been doing all this evil, okay? Spreading their antennas, the Shia crescent across the Middle East, all this stuff, okay? So we all know that. So they have become great, as we all know. That's why Israel and America is attacking them. They've become great, okay? Just like the prophecy says. So once they become great and march across the Middle East, northward, southward, and westward, which is what they've done with the proxy groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, you name it, here comes this ram, okay, here comes the goat that crushes them, okay? And then let's read from there. And as I was considering this ram going across the Middle East, conquering, doing as they wish, which is what Iran has done, Persia, as I was considering this, Daniel says he suddenly saw a male goat coming from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Then he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. I saw Turkey confronting Persia, and he was moved with rage against Persia, Iran, and attacked Iran and broke his 2 horns. There was no power in the ram, Iran, to withstand Turkey, but Turkey cast him to the ground and trampled him. And there was no one that could deliver Iran out of Turkey's hand. Amen and amen and amen. So my friends, a couple of things. Some of these prophecy teachers will tell you America is the GOAT. Please go to Daniel 8:20 through 21. What we just showed you, America's not in there. America's not in the table of nations, so America's not in there. Daniel 8:20 through 21, which we just showed you, said it's Persia, Medo-Persia, the ram, and Javan, the goat, not America. That's a big misunderstanding about prophecy teachers over here. Okay, just read the passage. It says Turkey, it says Javan, okay, in the passage. So Javan's going to go there and rock them, okay? Turkey's going to rock them. So what is Javan? What is Turkey, by the way? But some people don't understand that. If the translations were interpreted the right way or translated the right way, then we would understand better. Unfortunately, it says Greece in there, and everybody thinks it's Alexander the Great fulfilled it. Daniel 8:17 through 20 would disagree with that because it says it's for the end of the age, the latter days, the end, Daniel, the end, Daniel, the end. His whole book is for the end, everybody. So we just got to look at it, and you're seeing it. You're seeing these four kingdoms rise and fall like dominoes. Iraq fell in 2003, kingdom number one. Ever since that time, kingdom number two, Iran, Medo-Persia. And then here comes Javan, Turks, Turkey is going to come after that, just like this prophet has said. And then after that, the beast kingdom, okay? So we got to realize that. Okay, so Daniel has told all of us what's going down. We just have to understand, not get caught up in the emotions of all of these people, not get caught up in the false eschatology of these people, and understand what this prophet has said. And he said for all of us to understand, this is for the end of the age. Daniel 10, okay, the war with Iran and Persia. Iran is Persia. Persia and Israel twice. It says that right here. It says right here, this is for the end of the age. Okay, let me show everybody that in Daniel 10. Okay, verse 14. Let's look at it right here. Now, I have come to give you an understanding of what will happen to your people. When? 2,500 years ago with Alexander? No. The end of the age, the Akarit Yahamim, the end, the last days. Okay, so I'm not sure what people are reading here. Okay, this is for the end, and then after Persia, look at what it says. Here comes Javan. Okay, but I shall now return to fight against the prince of Persia, verse 20. So I'm going forth, and behold, the prince of Javan, Turkey, is about to come, and then he tells us what's going down. So my friends, please don't get caught up in all this stuff about what's going on, because we're going to show you that Persia is not going anywhere. I'm not saying that in a good way. Biblically, a biblical prophecy speaking, Persia is not going to be this good empire with Reza Pahlavi taking up the dictator's son, taking over Iran again and dictator, okay, with American dictatorship. That's not going to happen. The biblical prophecies tell you that Persia is going to be a bad actor at the end of the age. So that tells you right there that this regime is still intact, okay? Aren't they still intact? Isn't the guy's son in office now? So you tell me, okay, if they're going to go anywhere. They're not going anywhere. And as soon as the Americans can understand biblical prophecy, they'll understand that. Okay, as soon as the Israelis understand that, they'll understand as well. Persia's a bad actor at the end of the age, and I'm about to show you that in Ezekiel 38, okay? Because everybody's talking about Ezekiel 38. Well, we'll go to it, and you'll see Persia is not the leader of that, but Persia's underneath Turkey, and they are the bad actor. So Reza Pahlavi is not going to be back in office in Iran, okay? And I don't want him to be anyhow. His father was a dictator. Please go do your research. The Americans don't know anything. Go do your research. This guy pummeled his people. Tyrannical government is what this guy was. And then you got the Iranian Revolution, who was tyrannical as well. And what the Iranian people are dealing with right now is another dictatorship. So the Iranian people, who I love, has been under a dictatorship for the last 80 years with the Shah and with these two guys. No more. They're no longer, but now you got a son, okay, to deal with now. So again, just like we said 10 days ago, and I'll say it again, they're not going anywhere. Persia's not. America can drop every bomb on them they want. But according to biblical prophecy, according to God's throne room, according to the archangel Gabriel, Christians, Jews, please understand, Persia's not going anywhere. They're coming for all of us. Please understand that. They're under the beast kingdom. Please realize that. Okay, so they're not going to be transformed, unfortunately, into a good empire until Yeshua returns. And then he will put his throne in Elam. Only him, not any government on this earth, especially Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. No way will that happen. He's going to do that. And if anybody thinks that's going to happen, that's blasphemy. It's an abomination. And it's an insult to our Savior, an insult to our King by thinking men are going to do that instead of the King of all kings, the Lord of all lords. Let's get serious here. Who's going to do that? How's that going, by the way? And it's not going to go good. And they will not get rid of this regime. They just won't, okay? Because biblical prophecy is against that. Biblical prophecy will have Persia in the beast kingdom. You tell me they're going to be good? They're in the beast kingdom? No, they're going to be evil. And look at what you got now. You got a son over there now. And I don't mean this in any kind of way, but from his perspective, you've killed his father, you killed his mother, you killed his wife, you killed his daughter, you've killed his niece. Okay, you think this guy's wanting to negotiate? You don't think this guy's ready for a nuclear weapon? You don't think this guy wants blood? Okay, and you can kill him, and then another bad one will rise up. Okay, you're not going to get out of this, everybody. You're not going to turn Persia into a good country when biblical prophecy is against that. Okay, please get out of the idolatry, everybody. Get out of your Donald Trump and your Netanyahu idolatry. They're not going to do this. How is that going, by the way? The regime is still intact. Fully, no concerns whatsoever with that. I mean, we got to understand what's going down in biblical prophecy because it's making a lot of people look stupid, okay? It's making a lot of people look foolish. It's making a lot of people look like they're in idolatry with these politicians because they think they're going to do this. How has that gone for 25 years? Like I said for 10 days ago, not too good. Okay, you can go blow up the Middle East like we've done and like we're doing with Iran right now. I guess congratulations. I guess you've killed a lot of civilians, but okay, congratulations. Okay, for blowing up the country. But what's next? You didn't get your goals accomplished. The regime is still in total control. The regime is the RGC is in total control over Iran. The Hormuz Strait is still closed. They're still shooting rockets, destroying all of the infrastructure of the American military, naval bases, everything over there. That's just facts, everybody. So again, they're not going to be able to do this, okay? And again, time is on Iran's side, not on American Israel's side because of this right here, because of the oil in the markets, and because of munitions. Everything is on long-term their side because you will come to find out that you're going to see the leverage starting to turn towards Iran because they're not going to be able to achieve their goals. It's been said that, again, I can get into this a little bit later, okay? And again, please excuse me. So back to the biblical understanding instead of the geopolitics. The biblical understanding is simple. Daniel says it's the end of the age. All we have to do is believe him. Daniel 2:28 says that in the Nebuchadnezzar statue dream. Daniel 8 says that. We showed you that in verse 17 through 20. Daniel 10 says that. We showed you that in verse 14. Daniel 12:4 says that. Daniel, seal up your book till when? The end of the age, not 2,500 years ago. Okay, and now you're seeing some amazing things, my friends. So all I'm trying to do is help people to go read this stuff, go pray about it. You don't have to agree with me. Don't agree with me. Go read it for yourself and ask if you are seeing this in real time. Go to your prayer closet and ask that. Look at a little bit of history 20 years ago, 23 years ago. You don't have to go back 200 years. 2003, Iraq fell, Babylon fell by the Americans, right? Then Iran's been in superpower ever since that time. Everybody should agree with that because that's just common sense if one keeps up with the geopolitics. Then here comes the third one. Who's the third one? Most military commanders, geopolitical people, political people, any people will tell you the Turks will rule the 2030s. And you will see it. And you will see Javan become great because God has given them the power to become great so that he can get the people to repent. He can get the people to repent in Israel because he's wanting the people to repent because he's bringing the JV teams against them. He's bringing the varsity teams against them now. And he'll continue. Okay, he's going to go the distance with our Jewish brothers and sisters over there, the distance. He's already done it twice with them, didn't he? Babylon and Rome, right? He's already gone the distance with them twice. And he's going to do one more time with them, one more time, and to go the distance. And that's what they really need to understand. They got to understand this instead of all this other nonsense that people are focused on, this worldly matter stuff, okay, that's being caught up, all these isms and schisms everybody's been caught up into. God is going to destroy that. He's not going to allow that to go down. How's that going, by the way? You know, what really amazes me, and I'll say this because I might forget it later. What really amazes me is this. I love America and I love Israel. The two countries I love the most are really about to get judged the most. Okay, please understand that. Isaiah 30:31, Jeremiah 2, and Hosea 5. God is not for America being Israel's Adonai Zavaot. Every time Israel needs something to come over to America, he's against that. Please read what the prophets have warned the people about. So what's going to happen? You're seeing it. You're seeing it right in front of your eyes. America's influence over there is getting diminished more and more and more. Of course, we're destroying Tehran. That's easy to understand. We knew that. But look at the results of America. Look at what we've had to endure. Look what we don't even have the money to do this, number one. But look at what we have just lost over there with the economic power, the military power, the naval power, the reputation with the Gulf nations. You think they trust America to how's that going, by the way, in the Arab nation, in the Gulf nations over there, missiles flying through these skyscrapers? They are not used to that, everybody. This isn't Syria. This isn't Gaza. This isn't anywhere. Iraq. This is the Gulf prosperity nation sitting over there on their high horse. Here comes the missiles. Okay, welcome to the party, pal. Just like Bruce Willis said in Die Hard, welcome to a party. All these Islamists spreading evil over there. Now it's their turn to get some missiles back. So again, I'm not rooting for Iran or no one. I'm just saying, welcome to the party. All these Islamists over there spreading all their evil, killing Jewish people, and all these people. No, it's time to get into the game. But we're going to see the results of that because the last time that I checked, the Donald Trump family has a lot of money invested in those Gulf nations. So we're going to see how good Donald Trump is in politics. We're going to see how good he is with these Arab nations because they are livid at him. If you haven't done your research on that, I mean, why wouldn't they be? They're not for Iran either. They're not for Israel either. They're mad at everybody because if you look at the reports, you're seeing the Gulf nations starting to reevaluate. Can they trust the Americans? I mean, go look at the Gulf nations. Go look at these people. Go look at all that stuff over there. So America is going to be taken out of the way, just like I've been saying for years now. Isaiah 30:31, Jeremiah 2, Hosea 5, three great prophets, three great witnesses saying, Israel, do not go to a foreign nation for help, military assistance. Don't go to Assyria. Don't go to Egypt. Don't go whoring. Don't go to your lover, is what the prophets say, or excuse me, what God told the prophets to say to them. And they did that. And God got Nebuchadnezzar up, and he rocked Assyria, he rocked Egypt, and he rocked Judah. And really the entire Middle East got rocked by Nebuchadnezzar, Jeremiah 25. So we all know God's the same. There's no shadow of turning with him. If he told Israel that in the past, he's telling them that right now. Quit going to America for your business, your military business. Call on him, because when they do call on Yeshua, they won't have to lift nothing. He's going to, well, go read the book of Revelation. Go read Isaiah 63. Go read Revelation 19. Go read what the king's going to do. Not any government's going to do that. Okay, no government's going to do that. American government, Israeli government, United Kingdom government, French government, Russian government, no one's going to do what the king's going to do. But unfortunately, our American friends and our Jewish friends are caught up into their military power, you know, the American power and also the Israeli power and all these things. There's a lot of pride going on with that, and that pride will be broken. That pride is being broken, and the only people who are not paying attention are the Trump supporters who think ain't life grand. Go look at those Arab nations. Go look at those Gulf nations and look at the economic impact that's going to have on America with oil, with the gas from Qatar. I believe LNG, that's gone. I mean, that's shut down. Everything's shut down. So we've got to understand there's some pain coming to the Western civilization. That is for sure because of what the Iranians have done to the Gulf nations. This total, I mean, target practice, my friends, is what it is. And even in Tel Aviv, target practice, because the Iron Dome is like Swiss cheese right now. The arrow, where's the arrow? Where's the sling? Where's the Iron Dome? What's God trying to say? Wake up, Jewish people. Wake up, Jewish people. You're being breached right now. You're being breached right now. I've never seen so much destruction in Israel in my life other than the past 2 rounds of Iran. Okay, Israel's never been attacked like this that I can remember since what, 48, 67, 73, what, some of the Lebanese wars were nothing like this in the 80s. Okay, Hamas was nothing like this. And again, we can't beat the JV team, so why do we think we're going to go and beat a varsity team? America and Israel, I'm asking that. We can't get Hamas out right now. Why do we think we're going to get who sponsors Hamas out? I mean, let's look at this logically and common sense and the arrogancy that we have right now. We can't beat Hezbollah right now. What do we think we're going over to beat Iran for? We can't beat the Houthi rebels. Why do we think we can go over and beat Iran? You can't beat the Houthis. You can't beat Hezbollah. You can't beat Hamas. Do you think you're going to beat the varsity team? Biblical prophecy would disagree with that. Okay, they're not going to beat the varsity team. They can't beat the JV teams. These people are there to test Israel. Why do I know that? Joshua 13, Joshua 23, Judges 3, Numbers 33. Basically, the whole Torah will tell you this. Israel, if you obey my voice, blessings, the land of milk and honey, your enemies will be at bay. You won't have to worry about nothing because he's your Adonai Zavaot. Amen. But if you don't, and that's where people don't like to read Moses then, everybody loves Moses too. He said, but if you do not follow my voice, then I'm going to do to you, Israel, what I thought to do to them. That's Numbers 33, everybody. So what I tell people is read it and weep. I'm just quoting the Bible. Everybody hates this conversation, especially the political Zionists and the Christian Zionists hate this conversation, but their theology and their eschatology is erroneous, and God's going to prove that. Daniel proves that. The prophets prove that. They're erroneous. And I'm going to show you Ezekiel 38 and 39 as well. So my friends, you're seeing right now what could be Daniel 10 that goes right into Daniel 8, okay? There's been 2 missiles that have been flying into Turkey right now. Iran has declined that it was them. You know, there's a lot of speculation. I don't want to get into that. But whatever the case may be, if they want a fight, if they want more of a fight, they go to the Turks, and the Turks, according to biblical prophecy, will crush them. Okay, just like this prophet says. Let's read it one more time, and then we'll move forward with Ezekiel 38, 39. And as I was considering Iran becoming great, suddenly Turkey came from the west, across the whole surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. And Turkey had a notable horn, think about Alexander, between his eyes. Then he came to Iran, that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. And I saw Turkey confronting Iran. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, broke his 2 horns. There was no power in Iran to withstand Turkey, but Turkey cast Iran down to the ground and trampled him, and there was no one that could deliver Iran out of Turkey's hand. My friends, I'm not going to go through the rest of the prophecy because we're just not there. And that's really not what the conversation is tonight. The conversation tonight is Daniel 10, 2 rounds of Persia and Israel fulfilled. And now here comes Javan, just like Gabriel has said. And then go to Daniel 8. Here we go again. Angel Gabriel again. Who's going to listen to Gabriel? Okay. And he says, Daniel 3 times. Verse 17 through 20, this is for the end of the age. This is for the latter days. It's for the end, not 2,500 years ago with Alexander. Alexander's a mistranslation. Greece is a mistranslation. It's Javan. Any biblical scholar will tell you that. This Javan is what he's talking about. Okay, one more understanding of this. As you can see, it says the goat comes from the west, from the whole surface of the whole world. Well, my friends, let me just tell you, Daniel, this is another misunderstanding. Daniel's world was the Middle East and North Africa. He did not know about America. He did not know about any of these things. He knew about the Middle East and North Africa. Why do I say that? Go to Genesis 10. That is the table of nations. Daniel would have only understood the table of nations, everybody. He would not have understood China, Russia, America, Mexico, Antarctica, none of that, okay? He'd have understood the biblical world that his Yah has told him to prophesy through, which is the table of nations. Again, biblical scholars will tell you that. It's like the table of contents, okay? We can't read the prophets and understand who they're talking about until we understand the table of nations, the table of contents. We got to understand what God has said in the table of nations. That's your beast kingdom, by the way, Genesis 10. And the prophets would have understood that that's the only world that they would have prophesied through is that world, okay? They're called prophets, not psychics, everybody. They're got to have a reference point to send you back to instead of a crystal ball, okay, which is what most people do today. We've got to have the biblical understanding to go in the trajectory of the Bible and understand, just like the calendar and the feast days and the covenants, we got to understand the table of nations when we're dealing with biblical prophecy, or we'll look foolish. All of us will look foolish if we don't. So we got to understand that and understand that Daniel's world was this right here. I'm going to show you with my cursor. His world was pretty much this right here, Western Turkey, excuse me, Libya, Sudan, Egypt, all the way around the Horn to Pakistan, or go to India if you want, right here. That's his world right here. The Middle East right here. Western Asia, Eastern, that is his world. Not Europe, not the United States, not North America, South America, none of that. This is what his world would have been. Okay, so we've got to get into the mindset of the prophets to understand these things, my friends, and then we will know. We will not be misled. We will not be confused. We'll understand exactly where we are. And again, we went through the blood moons and the solar eclipses before as well, that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and the Iranian leader, who's no longer Khamenei, the father, has died. He got assassinated, killed. So he's no longer, but these other two are still here. And they were born on a solar eclipse and a blood moon. Again, bad signs, bad decisions, and that's what we have seen so far. Okay, because this is not going to end very good for America. Okay, it's not going to end bad for Israel. It will end bad for America's empire. It will matter a lot economically, geographically. The Middle East will be no longer a hegemon of the American government. It just will not have the hegemony anymore. For whatever people think, we will not have the power we once had in the Middle East once this is over. Okay, that's just facts. Okay. So now let's go to Ezekiel 38 and how this correlates with what we just learned. Daniel 10, 2 wars with Israel and Iran. You're seeing the second round. And then he says Turkey's coming next. Javan's coming next. We go to Daniel 8, 2 kingdoms, Persia and Javan. Javan crushes them. So that's got to happen before this. Why? Because of what we're about to talk about right here. Okay. We're just going to go through the first of this prophecy as well. And then we'll go to the geopolitics of this as well. Okay, excuse me. So in Ezekiel 38, 1 through 6, this is what the Lord says. Now the word of the Lord came to Ezekiel saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I'm against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks into your jaws, and lead you out with all of your army, horses and horsemen, all splendidly clothed, a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all of its troops, the house of Togarmah from the far north and all of its troops. Many people are with you. Okay, so this is right here at us, my friends. So Ezekiel 38 and 39 cannot happen before Daniel 8, okay? Daniel 8 has to happen before Ezekiel 38, 39, because who's the leader of it? Who's the leader of this empire right here? We're about to go through it right here. This is very important if you've never looked at this like this, okay? So he mentions that there is a leader called Gog of the land of Magog. So if we can find out what the land of Magog is, then we'll know who Gog is, right? Very simple. Gog of the land of Magog, right? Here's what he says. I'm against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around and bring you down, right? So if we understand who Gog is, or the land of Magog, we'll understand who Gog is, okay? So now let's look at where all of these ancient names are. Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, Gomer. Let's find out where all of these nations are so we can understand what country that Ezekiel 38 is speaking of, okay? So here is the ancient biblical atlases that are reputable, okay, that are calling it like it is. You can find this, do your research yourself on these things. So we got the New Moody Biblical Atlas. Look at where Meshach, Magog, Gomer, and Togarmah and Tubal is. It's in the nation of Turkey. More importantly, look where Javan is. I told you I would show you this on the biblical atlases. Look where Javan is, the western coast of Turkey. Javan, not Greece, Javan, Turkey. Yeshua in Revelation 2:12 through 13, the master himself says that Satan's throne and where he dwells is in Pergamus, Turkey, which is basically where, right down from Lud, if you will, okay, right where Javan is. So please understand it's a perfect correlation of what the master said. Okay, Now let's go to the Holman Biblical Atlas. Again, same thing. All of those names, Meshach, Magog, Gomer, Tagorma, Tubal, all in the nation of Turkey. Okay, look at where Javan is on this atlas as well, on the western coast of Turkey. So the Holman Atlas, also the New Moody Atlas, very reputable biblical atlases, both say the same thing. Okay, let's go to the HarperCollins Biblical Atlas. Excuse me. And let's look at where these names are. Gomer, Tubal, Meshach, all in the land of Turkey, not Russia. Let's go to the fourth biblical atlas, Zondervan Biblical Atlas, and let's look at where these all are. Again, same thing. They're all in the nation of Turkey. So my friends, really quick, we've got to understand this, that all of these nations are in the land of Turkey, just like the ancient biblical atlases have said. We've got to do our research. We just can't go to the internet, look at some of these maps, or go to the prophecy teacher of the day and think that they've got it right. We've got to confirm these things. And I'm telling all of you to confirm it as well with what I'm telling you. Confirm these things, go through the prophecies, go through the research, go through the maps, go through the atlases, so that we're not fooled. That is Russia. Rosh in this prophecy, Rosh in the Hebrew means the chief of or the head of, kind of like Rosh Hashanah, the head of the civil calendar, the Feast of Trumpets, okay? We've got to get biblical. We've got to get educated a little bit more than what we are, or we're going to be caught as a thief in the night. We're not going to understand who Gog is, Magog is. We're not going to understand anything because we're not doing our research. We're not searching it out. We're not wrestling with these things instead of going on what all of these people are talking about, which they're mostly wrong, unfortunately. So my friends, look at it for yourselves. All of those ancient names is in the land of Turkey. So Turkey is the head of this alliance, not Persia. Okay, I don't know what people are reading. Please read it like it says. We just read it. We'll look at the bottom of it. Okay, what does it say? Persia, Sudan. It's not Ethiopia, that's Cush. Persia, Sudan, and Libya are with them. Persia is with them. They're not the head of it. They're underneath Turkey. Okay, so again, a couple of points to all of my American friends and Israeli friends. Persia is not going anywhere. Persia is going to be an evil actor at the end of the age. I'm not talking about the people. I love the people. I love the Iranian people. I'm talking about the government is going to be evil at the end, just like Ezekiel 38 says. So my Jewish friends and my Christian friends, you can't have it both ways. If everybody's calling for Ezekiel 38 right now, then guess what? Call for it like it's saying. Persia is going to be underneath Turkey. So that means Israel and America is not going to accomplish the goals that they want. Okay, they're not going to get rid of this regime, which is, I thought, was the major point, okay, which it fluctuates with Trump every day, what the real reason is. So there is no real reason. They just don't know what they're doing, just attacking, and they've gotten into a back alley fight right now, and they don't know their way out, I don't think. I think it's, and I'll get to that, there's a back alley fight going on right now, and it doesn't seem like that stray cat's going to give up, okay? It seems like we're into a back alley fight, and from the reports that I'm getting, and from just looking at how Donald Trump operates with the gaslighting and the speculation and all this stuff, how he works with the media and stuff like that, he's a master at it. You can't get caught up in all that stuff. If people want to understand how Donald Trump works, go Google Roy Cohn, R-O-Y, Cohn, C-O-H-N, the Jewish name Cohn, Roy Cohn, Donald Trump, and that you will know how Donald Trump works because he learned from Roy Cohn. Never admit defeat. Always turn it against somebody. If they cause you lying, they're lying. And that's how Donald Trump works. Okay, so if you understand how he works, then you can understand how this process is going, because you can look at day one of what he was saying all the way through right now and what he's saying. And boy, it's a whole different ball game. That arrogance is not like it used to be. Okay, Pete Hegseth, Mr. Testosterone over there in the Department of War. Okay, look at his comments. He's been a little bit more careful with the comments since that time for a reason, because they then got into a back alley fight, street fight with these people. And that cat's scratching back, isn't he? Okay, so again, just like the prophecies say, we're not going to destroy these people. We're not going to change the regime. Reza Pahlavi is not going to go in there, American people. I hate to tell you, or nor should he. They will execute this guy for all the money that his father stole from the Iranian people and the dictatorship that his father did. Okay, please go do your research before everybody's wanting Reza Pahlavi to go over the Iranian people. No, thank you. Okay, let's get somebody in there that loves the Iranian people, not the American government. Okay, and that's what Reza Pahlavi is an American agent, and that's a disgrace. The Iranian people need someone they pick, okay, for that position, and they don't need any help from this, nor will it work, okay? Nor will it work. It's not going to work. And just like I told you guys, we talked about this stuff, was follow the prophecies, not political theater, not Donald Trump, not Netanyahu, not Erdogan, not none of these people, not Pahlavi or whoever, not the Iranian government. Follow the biblical prophecies. And my friends, they're not going to seem too good because you got all this rhetoric with who we love, America and Israel, and it's just not going to, it's all bombastic rhetoric. It's just not going to go. And I've got too many friends that are still in this stuff as well, that are still supporting, ain't life grand. We're going to just, no, we're not. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to kill a lot of civilians like we normally do and like we have. We're going to destroy the cities with all the buildings, which are empty mostly, and then call it a day and declare victory. And when there is no victory, there is no victory in this war, only degrees of losing. Like I said before, there's no victories in war. There's only degrees of losing. And that's what people are going to see. If you listen to the American media, then you think America's winning this war and this ain't life grand, and Donald Trump's the greatest general commander there ever was. Please go listen to some different opinions, please, and understand the facts on the ground. This war is not close to ending, okay? The Americans have asked for the ceasefire. Donald Trump has asked for the ceasefire, not the Iranians. The Iranians said, no, we don't want a ceasefire. Donald Trump is wanting the ceasefire. Donald Trump has reached out to Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump is the taco, not the Iranian tyrannical government. Okay, so please understand that. You know, it's just that understanding that we have to have, my friends, and most people are not going to like this understanding because people listen to Fox News and CBS. Well, if you listen to them, then you're going to think ain't life grand. I mean, we're kicking butt and taking names, listen to Pete Hegseth, listen to Donald Trump talking stuff he doesn't know about. There's another side to that coin, everybody, and please go look at the other side of that coin and balance this thing out. There's a reason why you're in for a 12-day war, not a 2-day war, and a 3-day war, which is what America and Israel thought they were getting into. No, you're into a back alley street fight right now. And from what I'm getting, from what the research that I've done, is America's looking for the exit ramps, and there is none. Iran's got the exit ramps, and I believe what you're going to see with the negotiations, because the negotiations are going to settle all this, okay? Whoever thinks what? The negotiations will not lie, okay? Whenever they get to negotiations, and it will end in negotiations, diplomacy, it always happens, right? Into World War II, World War I. So we're going to get into the diplomacy and the negotiations, and I'm willing to bet, or I'm not a betting man, but just, I don't know, a hamburger or something, that Iran's going to have the leverage more. So you're going to see this in the negotiations now, that Iran will have more of the leverage on what they want than we will. Wait and see. America wants to stop this war. Israel does not want to stop the war. America does. If you look at some of the research, it'll tell you that there's been there's been some little tensions between Israel and America right now because a few things. Before I get into that, let me just close out the biblical portion of the video. This is straight biblical. I don't care what anybody thinks about their geopolitical or whatever. This is biblical. Persia's not going anywhere other than the beast kingdom. That means they're going to be a bad actor. That means they're going to have a bad regime. America has failed at this, and Israel's failed at that. Okay, they are not going to be able to get rid of this guy. You can assassinate this guy as well, and then another one will come up. I think one of the biggest things that America, one of the biggest flaws that we had in this process is we didn't understand the Iranian government. We didn't understand how they've structured the government. We didn't understand how they separated their country into 12 regions for this purpose, like a spider web. We didn't understand that, or we didn't care about it. I think we just didn't care about it. I think we had the ego and the arrogance of Venezuela. And like I told you guys 10 days ago, this isn't Venezuela, is it? I don't think so. I think you're into a dog fight or back alley street fight. And again, this cat's scratching now. This cat's going to scratch really hard. And once you see the results, once Israel quits limiting their coverage on the destruction of their nation, once we see the true results of this, the true numbers of this, everybody will have a different opinion on how this war is gone. Unless you're listening to Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth or Fox News or CBS, I would never listen to that. I don't listen to any government. Okay, I don't trust any government on the face of this earth. I don't, no matter what they say, I trust the independent media. I trust the people on the ground. And from what I'm getting from about 20 or 30 people, at least, that this isn't going exactly the way that the Donald wanted it to go. Okay, so we got to understand that and look at it realistically and look at it honestly as an American people, that I think you've been hoodooed again with this war. And just like John Fogerty said in one of his songs, it looks like deja vu all over again. You can please look it up. That song, John Fogerty, Deja Vu, and That's Where I Stand, is that right there. These people, it looks like deja vu all over again. 25 years. We said it the other night, and I'll say it again. It's pretty obvious, unless you're listening to Fox News or CBS or Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth, it's pretty obvious that Iran's got the leverage now because Donald Trump is the one blinking. He's the one on ice skates right now, not the Iranians. You can destroy these, you can bomb these people all you want. That's what the American people don't understand, I don't think, till today. Or no, I'm sorry, please forgive me. They do understand that 25% of the entire American people support this. Okay, so the Americans are waking up, thank the Lord. Unfortunately, the Republicans are not. 50% of the Republicans, go Trump, go. And it's going to be on them. Go see what the results is on that, because it's not going the way that it is. And this guy is getting a good heavy dose. And again, if you look at the entire media, except for the American media, I would not listen to any American media at all, because they're all a bunch of liars and they're all afraid that Trump's going to sue them or shut them down. So that's where we are. So you can't trust that. You got to trust your eyeballs. Trump said this was going to be an easy victory. He said on the scale of 0 to 10, it's a 15. How could it be a 15 when we've got 8 dead soldiers and 150 injured people? How can it be a 15? How can it be a 15 when the Gulf nations are totally destroyed? Military infrastructure, naval infrastructure, hotels. Now they're going after the banks as well, the oil, the energy. You tell me. Go do some honest research out there, everybody, and you tell me where this is going. America, if I can say this, if people will receive it, you have lost the dominance of your empire in the Middle East. No matter if America won this war, which we have not, but you have lost the influence and the hegemony of the Middle East by this little fiasco that Trump and Netanyahu wanted to do, which is biblical, because America is going to be run out of the Middle East anyhow, because Israel always turned to America instead of God. And he's going to get America out of the way, so it's just him and the Jewish people. And they will realize that he is the Adonai Zavaot. He's the one who's going to deliver them. He's going to do it. And you got to get America out for that to happen, because they will run to America every single time. Benjamin Netanyahu has been to our White House about 8 or 9 times since this year has begun. 8 or 9 times. There's not a governor in America who's been to even the White House 1 time, much less 9 times. So if I can say this, Israel, you got to quit coming to America, because God's against that. He's against America supporting militarily all of this stuff. And that's why you're seeing not the easy victories. You can't beat Hamas. You can't beat Hezbollah. You can't beat Iran. You can't beat the Houthis. You can't beat none of them, because he's not going to give you the victory to do it, because that would mean more pride. Okay, if they got the victory and they wouldn't turn to Yeshua. This is logical common sense, much less biblical sense, that we've got to understand what Yah is doing for his people. He loves the Jewish people to discipline them. He loves the Jewish people to get America, their idol, out of there so that he can deal with the people, kind of like he did with Nebuchadnezzar with Assyria and Egypt. Same thing, same understanding, just 2,500 years later. We've got the same understanding with the Jews and the Christians now. The Christians are with them now, the Zionists, and they're not understanding what that even means, much less how that's going to occur at the end of the age. These people have the wrong theology and eschatology. Okay, please go read the Mosaic covenant first, or excuse me, the Abrahamic covenant first, so people can understand that the Jewish people do have the right to the land. Once they get into the land, here comes the Mosaic covenant now, your attitude and behavior and the ways of God. And if you do listen to him, then you can stay and he'll bless you like you've never been blessed before. But if you don't listen to his voice, then he's going to bring the gavel and he's going to bring the enemies against you, just like the Torah says, just like the prophets say, just like Yeshua said. I mean, I don't know where we're going wrong here. We're just quoting Bible verses to everybody, and the understanding of how God deals with people once they get into the promised land. They have been exiled twice for this kind of behavior, and they're about to be exiled one more time. Half the city goes into exile, everybody. That's Zechariah 14. The Jewish prophet says that. Half of the city goes into exile. 1/3 of them comes through the fire. Okay, read it. It's very hardcore stuff. Jeremiah 16, the hunters are going to hunt them back. Why? Because like Jeremiah says, don't go argue with Jeremiah and God. Jeremiah 16 says, because of your detestable idols and your abominations on the land, I'm going to judge you. I'm going to bring the people back. He's going to judge all the Jewish people because of that. Okay, I mean, this is hardcore stuff, everybody, but that's where we are right now. Okay, and I know this is not the most popular videos and all this stuff, but I really could care less. I care about people and salvation, Great Commission, and people need to get off this high horse, this American Israeli high horse that we're on right now with a lot of people I network with as well. Come down, please. Let's get the pride down, please, and let's do the Great Commission, please. Not try to do the conquering of the Promised Land, put God's throne in Elam. None of that will happen. Mark it, read it, whatever. Take it, whatever. I'll keep this video up. They will never do that without Yeshua. They will never conquer the Promised Land without Yeshua. They just will not. No one ever has. David didn't. Joshua didn't. You think he's going to give it to a secular government and an unrepentant nation? I love the Jewish people. I'll stand with them. But let's get biblical here, everybody. Everybody wants to get biblical, right? Everybody loves Yah, right? Well, let's get biblical. And it's going to go against the Christians and the Jews at the end of the age. I'm telling you, the prophecies are against us, everybody. Not against us, but the purification of it. The purification. He's going to put people through the fire. Read Revelation yourself, what he does. He's going to put the Jewish people through the fire, called the time of Jacob's trouble, and the Christians as well. And the Christians are going to be in for a surprise of their life because they're thinking they're all going to be raptured. No, it's purification time, everybody. The 7-year purification journey, not the 7-year tribulation, the purification. Buy fine gold from him and let him put all of us through the fire, is what he says. To the lukewarm and the dead church. Well, my friends, I don't have to tell you guys this because you're the faithful church, but the lukewarm church and the dead church and the Jewish people, they need to wake up because bad times are coming, not good times. Bad times are coming. My friends, go take a look at Tel Aviv. Go take a look at Jerusalem. Go take a look at Haifa. Yes, take a look at Tehran. Quit focusing on Tehran. God's not focused on Tehran. God's focused on Israel's behavior. That's what he's focused on. Please read the Torah. Please read the prophets. He could care less. I mean, he does for salvation. He does. But the point I'm trying to make is everybody's concerned about the terrorists and the Islamists. Just like I told you guys, if they do good and they're obeying, then they don't have to worry about it. You don't have to call on your idol America. You don't have to call on the UK. You don't have to call on none of these idols out there. God will take care of the enemies for you. You will never have to worry about them. Please read what he says, the Torah. But if you don't, here they come. And here they are. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, Iran, Turkey, Syria, you name it. Esau is going to rise up as well. Arabia will rise up as well. So that is biblical. That is the Torah. That is the prophets. Not a good conversation. People hate this conversation because it calls all of us out of our idolatry and our worldly matters that we're trying to do when God's going to do that. Yeshua's going to do that. He wants the people to repent right now, all people on this earth. And like I love to ask is, how's that going for the inhabitants of the world? How's that going for the inhabitants of the Middle East? Look at what's going on in the Middle East. That place is totally just on fire right now. This is nothing. This is what I've been telling you guys what's coming because he's turned them over to Daniel. He's turned them over to Ezekiel. He's turned them over to the prophets that he prophesied. And it's not good for Israel. It's not good for the nations. It's not good for nobody. And that's why it's not funny, but it's, I don't know the right word. It is absolutely, it's disappointing, but it tells you a lot because people have no clue what's going on. People think, I mean, the Jewish people think Hashem's on our side. The Christians think Jesus is on our side, and he is. But he's still going to turn you over to the prophecies, is what I'm trying to say. He's not being partial to anybody. The Jewish people are being killed right now. The Iranians are being killed right now. The Americans, we've lost soldiers as well. Turks, you name it, the Gulf nations. So you tell me, is he being partial to Israel right now? Is he being partial to America right now? No, America's collapsing right now. The only fool that doesn't understand that is Donald Trump and his administration. this is another notch in the belt of America's collapse. Okay, if you keep up with the economics of this country, this is just a major notch in the belt of getting America out of the Middle East. So I've got friends of mine who would disagree with that all over the board because of their American pride. And I love them to death, and I always love them. But like I told them, I think you've got a little bit of pride left in you. Think that America's going to do this or Israel's going to do that. No, they're not. How's that going? The Iranian regime's not anywhere close to collapsing, not anywhere even in fact, they're probably stronger than ever because they just defied President Trump. What did Donald Trump say? I'm going to be the one who picks the leader of Iran. I'm going to be the one who, I mean, how arrogant is that? Okay, I'm going to be the one who picks him. They don't have and then they get the guy's son in. Then they put the guy's son in. So you guys, again, I don't mean this in any kind of way, but I'm not sure what the American government is smoking up there. But whatever it is, it's not high quality enough. They need to upgrade the quality and get on some good stuff, because what they're doing now, they need to get rid of the bad stuff and get on some good stuff. Because goodness, I don't know what these people are thinking. And you got all these evangelicals who should know this stuff. They don't know anything. Go get them. Israel, Micah, all these people don't know. They don't have a clue what's going down. So we've got to really look at this thing in an honest way instead of taking the political side of these things or whatever, because God's not in the politics of it. He's in his biblical prophecies is where he is. And that's why when everybody thinks that America and Israel is going to go dethrone Persia and it's going to be some righteous, awesome country, no. Persia's in the beast kingdom, and that's what Ezekiel 38 says. Okay, Persia's with Turkey, Javan, in the beast kingdom. They're one of the bad people. Okay, so if Persia, so you can't have it both ways. If everybody's calling for Ezekiel 38, 39 right now, and most rabbis are right now, then guess what? Persia's with the beast kingdom, everybody. No throne in Olam in Jeremiah 49. No conquering the promised land. No, none of that. Persia's underneath them, which means they're part of the beast kingdom, they're a bad actor, and they're coming for Israel. Okay? So please understand that, and understand that no one's going to dethrone them other than Turkey's going to rock and roll them after America and Israel rock and rolls them. They're really going to get rock and rolled by Turkey, what the prophecy says in Daniel 8, and then they will fall underneath the Sunni. The Shia will fall underneath the Sunni, because the Sunni nations are the ones who are rising. And my friends, that leads us to another point. So before I go into the geopolitics of it, which I've gone in a little bit of it, let's finish up with the biblical understanding that we were going through the night with Daniel 10, Daniel 8, and Ezekiel 38. Excuse me. So Daniel 10, we had 2 kingdoms that were going to fight each other. Daniel was fasting for 3 weeks. The angel was fighting the kingdom of Persia one time. Then he came to Daniel after the 3-week fast. He revealed to him the situation. Then he said, Daniel, I've got to go back and fight the kingdom of Persia again, which is where we are right now. June, 12-day war, first time. Second time, right here. How do we know it's for right now? Verse 14, I believe, says it's for the latter days. It's for the end of the age, not in Alexander's time or in Cyrus's time. Verse 14 says that right there, the last days, as you can see. That means right now, not in Cyrus or Alexander's day 2,500 years ago, okay? So again, that's Daniel 10. And what does he say at the very end of the prophecy in Daniel 10? Okay, after Iran and Israel hooked horns twice, which is what you've seen, this is the second time. Verse 20, it says the prince of Greece, but it's really Javan, is about to come, which is Turkey. Any scholar will tell you that, Turkey. And you go look at what's on the ground, Turkey is coming. So Daniel 10 has told us 4 major points. This is for the end of the age. There's one war with Persia, Iran, June 2025. A second war with Persia right now. And then here comes Javan, Turkey. Okay, so he leaves you in Daniel 10 with Turkey. Then we get to Daniel 8. Daniel 8 tells you, in Daniel 8, I'll go through the scriptures just really quick in summary. But in Daniel 8, we have this 2 beasts or 2 kingdoms that will rise to power. Okay, and then in Daniel 15 through 19, it says 3 times right here. I'm not going to read it, but 3 times right here it says Daniel. This is what's going to happen at the end of the age, the time of the end. This is when the latter time will be at the appointed time. So 3 times he tells Daniel this is for the end of the age, not for 2,500 years ago. And then in Daniel 8:20, he tells you who they are. The ram, which you saw having 2 horns, are Media, which is the Kurds, the Kurdish people, and also Persia, Iran. The male goat is Javan or Turkey. So he tells you right there, it's not America. Some people put America as the goat. No, the kingdom of Javan, the geography of the original kingdom. Okay, and then it says right here that there's a war between these two, Turkey and Iran, and it says that the ram will become great, which it has in 23 years since Iraq fell. It's become great, and then it'll march northward, southward, and westward. It's going to become great, which it has, and then the goat, Turkey, will come over and it will crush them, rage at them, crush them, and no one can take Iran out of Turkey's hand, is what it says at the end. So, my friends, you're seeing that in order. Daniel 10 first, Daniel 8, and then Ezekiel 38. In Ezekiel 38, all of those ancient biblical atlases will prove that all of those names are in the nation of Turkey only, and the nation of Javan is on the western coast of Turkey, which goes into Daniel 10, and also what we tell people with what Yeshua said in Revelation 2:12 through 13. He says Satan's throne is in Pergamus, Turkey. That's it. That's coming from the master's mouth. So there's not too much you can debate on that. Pergamus is in the nation of Turkey, Western Turkey, which is where the prophecy is, okay? So we got to understand biblical prophecy, my friends, and then it goes on from there, which we'll get into at another time. But what I wanted to show tonight, my friends, was the fact that we're seeing Daniel 10, it leads with Turkey or Javan. And man, Daniel 8, it could happen right after this. It could happen in 3 years. It could happen in 2 years. Who knows? We'll just have to keep watching to see. But what really gets my attention is when there are missiles flying into Turkey, and the Turks will ultimately not deal with that, okay? They're not going to put up with all that. You know, with the missiles flying into their space, 2 NATO defense missiles had to stop those, okay? So again, that could get the Turks involved, and I think eventually they will get involved. Not right now, they could, but I think in the future they'll get involved, you know, so to speak. But we'll just have to see. Again, there's no evidence whatsoever that this war is going to stop anytime soon. No evidence whatsoever. In fact, Iran has said no ceasefire whatsoever. And I think, like I said, from the research that I've done, remember President Trump called President Putin a day ago or 2 days ago, and most people would believe he was calling to find an exit ramp because Russia and Iran are allies, and they're part of BRICS as well. Okay, so he's looking for, I think most scholars, if you go deep, not Fox News, not CBS, not the White House, you got to go deeper. Donald Trump's not going to give up that leverage in the media. Do you understand? If you understand how Donald Trump works, which is smart, I mean, this is smart, he's not going to give up the leverage of what's really going on so he can manipulate that into a victory. Okay, there is no victories in this, number one. Number two, if he wanted to claim a victory, Iran's going to take that away because from what I'm getting, and so far they've been accurate, so far these people that I've listened to have been right on it, okay, all these years, 3 or 4 years, they've been right on it. Well, that's what you're seeing today. You're seeing Iran as this battle goes, every day that this battle goes on forward, America has a math problem. A math problem. Why do they have a math problem? They have a math problem with munitions. We have been a war-worn country. I've said this over and over for 25 years, a war. Do you know, in fact, for 250 years of America's existence, we've not been at war only about 20 years of that. So out of 250 years, we haven't been at war 20 of those years. Other than that, war, okay, those days are coming to an end, okay, because you can't do it anymore. You're about to be 40,000, we wish it was 40,000, right? $40 trillion in debt. Israel's in $350 billion worth of debt, only 10 million citizens. That's going to go higher. So my friends, look at the damage. My friends, we just have to understand to get out of this political stuff and look at the biblical prophecies and follow God's prophecies. I've even debated some of my friends. They bring up Ezekiel 38. And like I tell them, since you brought up Ezekiel 38, you brought it up. And since you think that's coming, then look at where Persia is. Persia's underneath Turkey, the bad people, the beast kingdom. So let me get this straight. So we're going to get the regime to fall for Reza Pahlavi, and then somehow he's going to get thrown into the beast kingdom or something. I mean, it's just stupidity. That will never happen. The Iranian regime has no signs whatsoever that they're collapsing. There's just no evidence of that. In fact, I think they're probably stronger than people think because they just went by the Constitution. They do have a constitution. Most people don't believe that. They don't understand that. They just think one man runs the country and get rid of him in Venezuela. How's that going? Okay, they've got a constitution right now, and they're going by their constitution. So their government and their theocracy has not even taken any hits. The guy was 86 years old. Okay, so I guess congratulations. Put a little deer on your room or something. You know how people put deers, their trophies. Okay, so go ahead and take your trophy. But now you got a son, and his son is more radical than his father was. So I guess congratulations. I guess everybody wants to ramp up the end of the age. Well, here you go. And just like I told people before, don't trust me. Trust what God has shown you. Don't listen to me. God has shown you that he has birthed Donald Trump on a blood moon. That means bad for Israel. Well, look what's going on in Israel. Netanyahu, solar eclipse, bad decisions. Go look at the Middle East. Bad decisions. Okay, with these two, the dynamic duo is what I call them. They were birthed on these things, and the Iranian leader as well. He's no longer. Okay, so now it's these two. Okay, that we're dealing with the bad signs. Okay, so I don't care what people say. God has shown. I'll just say for me, God has shown me to trust his faithful witnesses in the sky, the two witnesses that establishes things that Donald Trump and Bibi are going to escalate and intensify biblical prophecy. Okay, and that's exactly what they've done with Daniel 10. You're about to get into Daniel 8. Excuse me, America will be out of the way because you're bankrupt, because you've been in the Middle East for 25 years. Go check out the Soviet Union, what happened to them in Afghanistan. We're going down the same route. I'm going to do a video on that on Sunday about how, if you stay with us on Sunday, this Sunday I'll have a video. Excuse me, I'll have a video comparing the American Empire to the Ottoman Empire, which is pretty interesting, to the British Empire, which is very interesting, especially what's going on right now in the Middle East, and then with the what's the other one? With the British, Ottoman, and I forget the other one off the top of my head, but I'll be going through that on Sunday. What's the other one? Britain, Ottoman. Goodness, my memory has faded me. Sorry about that. But anyhow, there's three kingdoms that were just basically following them. Oh yeah, the Russian Empire, which I just told you what happened. So the Soviet Union, okay, why it became Russia in 1991, by the way, that's why it's not Russia. Rosh is not talking about Russia in Ezekiel 38. Russia became a nation in 1991. They're not psychics, everybody. They're prophets, and they're going to go through the table of nations, okay? So just another point on that. But the Soviet Union, if you look at the Soviet Union, they went bankrupt. How? By fighting in Afghanistan. Okay, go look it up. So I'll be doing a video on that. The Soviet Union, the British Empire, and the Ottoman Empire, and you'll see how America is kind of flowing with that. I think only the people who have no understanding about economics, global economics, and their American pride are the only people that can't see the writing on the wall for this country. This country is not a repentant nation at all. We've got abortion all over the land, homosexuality all over the land, paganism all over the land in America. We've got a lot of issues in the land. We've got a pagan leader, foul mouth, curses all the time up at the White House. I mean, all these people are not godly people. So this country is going one direction only, and that's the judgment. And doing this with Israel is only going to elevate that judgment, according to Jeremiah 2, Isaiah 30:31, and Hosea 5. All three prophets will tell you whoever helps Israel militarily, they get judged and we get judged. Okay, both will get judged for the behavior that we've done in the Middle East for 25 years. That's, to me, pretty easy to understand, unless we have American pride or Israeli pride. To me, that is very easy to understand because of what God told the prophets to say to the people. So I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to trust the prophets that wrote it, okay? The people are not going to do that. The people are not going to trust that at all. Okay, so we got to really understand that. But my friends, we are entering into some very interesting times, geopolitically, economically, also all of these things. And I'll just say this, which there's no winning this, but even if you want to call it a win because militarily speaking, we've just, we bombed a bunch of buildings, 5,000 buildings in Tehran. Okay. That's what America does best. I've seen that for 25 years, and I've seen no victories in 25 years as well. So I've seen America show their power in the air, their air dominance, power, which we certainly have, that's blown up everything in the Middle East. Okay, I guess great, but where's the victories after that? There is no victories. So to me, it's very simple to understand. That goes with the biblical prophecies as well. Persia's not going anywhere. Everybody can beat on your chest all you want, but Persia will be there with a regime like this. Whether they assassinate this guy or not, the son, who cares? They will be evil. Okay, the regime, you're not going to get away from that. And I think you've seen Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth kind of go away from that narrative of regime change. Well, you heard about regime change, Venezuela, we've done it. How's that going? How is that going? Not good, no bueno, because they can't do it. They're not going to do it. How can they do it? Okay, so we have to understand that. I don't think they have the appetite. You know what proved it to me? That America's not going to do this? When you're asking the Kurds to enter into Iran, that tells me you have zero convictions about putting the American soldiers in there and the IDF soldiers in there, which I'm opposed to, by the way. I don't think you send no soldiers in there because they will just bring a lot of body bags when you do that. And I mean that in all due respect to our soldiers and the IDF. I'm just being realistic. Any military general will tell you that. They'll be buried out there in Persia if they do that. Okay, and they're not going to do that. That's why they asked the Kurds, because that's what the Americans are. They'll use you up. Okay, and what's so interesting about the Kurdish people, if you didn't follow that, so the Kurds are separated into 4 countries, right? I'll show you that on the map. So if one's not familiar with that, I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, give me a second. So the Kurdish people, if you're not familiar with it, they're right in these 4 countries about where my cursor are. There's about 10 million of them, okay? So there's about 10 million Kurds. So that's where they are. And what's happened is, is we have, just like I showed you guys, the Syrian Kurds have been pushed over here because the American Trump has turned his back on these Syrian Kurds. He turned his back on them and let Erdogan and Sharara, the terrorists, move the Kurds over to basically northeastern Syria. So I don't think it's funny. I'm just trying to say how the Americans will use and abuse you. But basically, so the Americans were using the Syrian Kurds. They turned their back on them like they do everybody else. The Kurds have been getting stomped. And now Donald Trump's reached out to the Iraqi Kurds to invade Iran right there on the border. And what did the Syrian Kurds tell the Iraqi Kurds? What are you doing? You going to trust the Americans now after we just got pummeled by Turkey and Syria and moved all of our brothers over to northeast Syria? You're going to trust the Americans, the Iraqi Kurds, to go into Iran? Good luck with that. And that's what I say as well. Good luck with that. Trusting the American government, because they'll leave you to die out there just like they did in Syria. Okay, so I love human beings, everybody. I don't like governments at all, and the American government's wrong in doing this, just like they're wrong with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, you name it. I think the national anthem for the White House, just for the White House national anthem, should be Bill Withers. Have you ever heard of Bill Withers out there? Have you ever heard of a song, Use Me Up? Well, that should be the White House national anthem, because no matter what government you're talking about in America, Republican or Democrat, the quartet, the last 4 presidents, that should be their theme song. Use me until you use me up. Bill Withers. Please go check the song out. I love the song, but that's what the American government does. It uses people and abuses people, kills them, and I would include that with our soldiers as well. They have no love for our soldiers whatsoever. They'll put those guys in the worst position ever. And my heart goes out to them for the courage. I love them and I stand with them, because a lot of my friends were over in Afghanistan, in Iraq as well. So again, I speak for them as well, because I love them and I love the soldiers. And what the Americans do is put these guys and women, these brave men and women, in some impossible situations. And I'm sick of it. I don't care. I'm sick of all this stuff. I don't care. We've got 8 dead soldiers for this political theater, but it is biblical prophecy. I'm talking about it from the American standpoint. Israel and Iran was going to fulfill that regardless. And then America has to get their hands involved in this because Israel asked them to. Okay, no, America shouldn't be involved in this at all. Okay, the biblical prophets say Israel and Iran, and now Big Brother has to come and get Israel out of this stuff. Okay, and no, and we've lost soldiers and all this stuff. No way, Jose. And that's why God's going to run America out of the Middle East, which is what he's doing right now. Americans can't see that because they're just focused on the military power that we're doing on Tehran right now. And yes, okay, if you're involved, if you love to see all that destruction, I guess it's a great thing. But again, Iran's doing a lot of destruction as well. And that's what Fox News is not going to show you. That's what CBS is not going to show you. That's what the American media is not going to show you because they're all cowards and they're not all calling it like it is. Go look at Dubai. Go look at Kuwait. Go look at Bahrain. Go look at these Islamists over there that are getting pounded right now by Iran. Welcome to true Islam. Okay. Welcome to true Islam, Gulf nations. You deserve it. Okay. Go look at Israel. Go look at Tel Aviv. Go look at the footage that has been smuggled out because they've just clamped down on the nation because they don't want all this stuff out because it makes them look bad. Well, it is bad. The stuff that I've seen that are true, legitimate videos that people have basically made sure that they were true videos, it is ugly. And if it wasn't so ugly, why did we have to send a third nuclear ship over there? Why did we have to get France to send a nuclear ship over there? Why are we seeing all these comments? If it was so easy, why are we backing up our naval ships from Iran to waters that they can't hit? Why are we doing that? That's satellite images, everybody. Why, when we look at the military bases and the naval bases and all of this military infrastructure that billions have been spent on, years, decades of relationships been built on, I'll just be conservative. In 12 days, it's really before that, it's really about 5 days, but 12 days, this president has destroyed all of that. This president has destroyed all of our infrastructure, military, naval, air bases, where do people stay, the housing. Go look at all of these stats, everybody. Quit looking at the destruction that we do all the time on Tehran. Great. We all know America can do that with no victories. The air power can't do that for you. It's kind of like, I mean, people are just shooting in the wind. Oh, we're going to bomb them to submission. No, you're not. How's that going? You can atomic bomb, which America's good at. We've dropped 2 on Japanese. Drop a nuclear on them. They're not going anywhere. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell people. Biblical prophecy will tell America and Israel they're not going anywhere. And the joke is on them because they've wasted a lot of lives, a lot of civilians, Iranians, about 1,300 civilians, 170 or 80 little kids, girls have been killed. I do think it was a mistake. I don't think America truly did that on purpose. I think it was a mistake. If you look at the satellite maps, it was a true mistake in my opinion because that used to be a military commander center. And then they turned it into a school and they did a wall and all this stuff. But I think it was an honest mistake. With that being said, I think it was a disgrace by our president to say, oh, Iran did it. Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles like America does. So this guy's a liar. He needs to take responsibility for this. He needs to apologize for these little girls being killed. And he would be better off in the limelight, but he cannot do that. He cannot do that. He doesn't have the heart to do that. He doesn't have the soul to do that, to apologize for killing all these innocent little girls, because I do believe it was an honest mistake. I don't think our military targets schools and little girls. I don't think that, okay, at all. I do think it was a mistake, but I do think that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump should stand up and say, you know what, we made a mistake, my apologies. And I think that would go a long way with the Iranian people, not the Iranian government, but the Iranian people, because the Iranian people they're not pro-America now. I mean, you're bombing their kids, you're bombing schools. Israel just bombed oil and had acid rain, black rain falling on, 10,000, 15,000 citizens. That is cruelty. Okay. That is cruelty. That's not good war. That's not being good at all. And Israel needs to watch out for that because of the reputation that they have already in doing it to the Palestinians, the 70,000 civilians they killed in Gaza. So they need to watch out because now you got here in Iran, they're doing citizens, black rain and all this stuff, and it makes them look terrible. I love them. I'll stand with them, but they just need to watch this stuff because look at Gaza, look at this. People are going to start to see I mean, is America and Israel all about just killing civilians? I mean, is that where we are right now? That's what the majority of the world is asking. Okay. I love the Jewish people. I'll stand with them. And yes, we do make mistakes, and I'll stand with them through the mistakes. That doesn't make me love them any less or America any less. But man, there is morality here. There are ethics, there are values, there are standards according to the Bible that the Jewish people and the Americans are not following, period. That's just honestly speaking. And as a believer who loves Yeshua, who loves the Jewish people, who love the Americans, who love the Iranians, I think it's a disgrace when all of these people get killed, these civilians again, okay, and we don't take ownership of it. Just take ownership of it. We made a mistake. Take ownership. Donald Trump cannot do that. He looks like a fool because everybody knows the American intelligence will tell you that American did that. And they need to get Donald Trump quit looking like a fool, and because the American intelligence is telling you that we did it. A double tap bombing, by the way, which is just cruelty, okay? So we just need to understand that our government is out of alignment. Pete Hegseth is out of alignment. Mr. Christian Crusader is out of alignment. Okay, he needs to calm down the language, no mercy and all this stuff, because then it looks like we do that on purpose. When he's saying no mercy, kill him, all this crazy apocalyptic language that he uses of no mercy and all this, I've never heard an American government get so much joy of killing people as Pete Hegseth does. I've never seen any Secretary of War or Defense that gets that much pleasure of killing other people. Even if we're in the right, we should not enjoy the bloodthirstiness. This guy should be impeached from his job, which he will. Donald Trump will get rid of this guy. Wait and see. Donald Trump eventually, Pete Hegseth will get the axe of this, because once this is settled, you can write it down, you can take a picture, whatever. Watch out. The Iranians will have the leverage at the end of this. Watch the negotiations. The negotiations will not lie. Okay, and if I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. But geopolitically speaking and prophecy speaking, Iran will be a bad actor at the end of the day, at the end of the age. We're at the end of the age. They're not going anywhere. America and Israel has failed with trying to get this government changed. Everything that they have tried has failed. They've tried the protests. They've tried the spies, the Mossad, you name it. They've tried everything, and everything to this point has failed. And the only remaining thing left for them to do, which would be a terrible idea to do, is ground troops. That would be a horrible idea to do, according to most people who do not Trump and Netanyahu idolaters. Okay, they will tell you that that would be a horrible idea for ground troops. There will be a lot of death, and they still will not be able to do the regime change. Go look at the intelligence of the American people. The CIA has said that you will not be able to do that. You're very less likely to do that. Our intelligence are saying that. That's why General Kane said that before we did go to war, to cover his behind, because he was saying that we could not do these things. And Donald Trump did them anyhow. We got to realize that. One thing we have to understand about the Iranian government now is why I think that you will not see too many more assassinations right now. And I'll give credit where credit's due. According to spying and all that, I'm not for all that stuff, but just in general, give credit to the Mossad for basically getting into the Iranian government, because, man, they have assassinated a lot of people. So I wanted to show you guys this really quick before we talk about some of this other stuff. But this guy right here, let me get to, excuse me, let me get to the other slide, and I want to show you guys this. I thought this was very interesting, and this is why I'm going to say what I'm going to say, is this right here. This guy right here, I don't even know the guy's name. It doesn't really matter, okay, because he's dead now. Why is he dead? And this is what I'm trying to say. I think they're starting to clean up some of this invasion of their government by the Mossad, if you will, and give hats off to the Mossad. I think for that, if you want to get into the spy stuff, which I'm not for, but anyhow, it's very good what they do, is the Mossad. With that being said, there's been a lot of spies being executed in Iran as well. So there's a heavy price to pay if you get caught. So what I'm trying to tell you, I don't even know what this guy's name is, and who cares. But I saw this the other day. I thought this was very interesting, and it kind of tells you they're kind of cleaning up this Mossad stuff in Iran, okay, because they're getting rid of the moles, if you will. This guy was very close to the father, Khamenei. I don't even know his name. It doesn't matter. He's dead now. Why is he dead? So do you remember when Israel assassinated the leader of Hamas, the Hanayah? guy who was over in Tehran. He went over to Tehran for President Pezeskian, the current president. I can't pronounce his name, Pezeskian or something. The current president of Iran. He went over. Hananiah, the leader of Hamas, not Sinwar, but the other guy that was the leader, he went over to Tehran, and remember, Israel assassinated him. Well, before he was assassinated, this guy was with him. So that's one time he lived, but Hananiah died. Okay. So now you remember that's Hamas. Now go to Hezbollah. Remember the leader of Hezbollah, Nasrallah? So Nasrallah died. This guy was with Nasrallah as well. He left him, and then Israel bombed, and killed Nasrallah, right? The leader, the terrorist. So 2 times this guy was with Hamas leader. He left him, Israel bombed. Then he was with Hezbollah's leader. He left, Israel bombed. So he escaped death twice. Isn't that coincidental? Okay, so now the 3rd time he was with the leader, Khamenei, the father, when he was bombed, or right before he was bombed, this guy left, and then he was bombed. So they got this guy, and if you want to know what they did to this guy, please go look it up. I mean, it was not good. So I guess, who knows, but it was not good because he was, from the Iranian perspective, he was a traitor, of course, treason. So to me, it seems like they are cleaning up the Mossad infiltration, if you will. And I'm not saying that in a good way. I'm just saying they've cleaned it up. They've cleaned up the Mossad infiltration. This guy's dead, and they've really cleaned up. There's been from the first June war, I think there was 30 or 40 of them that got killed, got executed as well because they were Mossad spies. So Israel, on our side, we've lost a lot of Mossad spies, if you will, because of the cleanup work they're doing. I mean, it's a risky job, right? So again, they signed up for it. They knew if they get caught, they're going to be killed. So it is what it is. But I wanted to share that with you because people don't understand the other side of it, and people need to understand there's a other side of it. It's not just America and Israel giving their dominance to people. There's a cat that's scratching back in the alley right now, and it is not as pretty as people think. Okay, I'm not saying America lost anything. I'm just saying we're not winning anything, just like we never do in the Middle East anyhow. Hopefully our American citizens, and they are, if you look at the polling, they are waking up, thank God, with these wars and stuff, that there's no winning to this. There's never winning to this, only degrees of losing. And for the last 25 years, we've seen that. The last 25 years in the Middle East, we haven't won anything. We've caused a lot of destruction. We've shown everybody we've got the power, which we certainly have with the air power and stuff, and also our soldiers as well. But we don't win anything. We get kicked out of the Middle East. We get kicked out of Afghanistan. We get kicked out of Iraq. We get kicked out of Syria. We get kicked out of Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen. Look at what we've done there. So my friends, it's just a never-ending story. Again, this is not bashing America. It's time for our citizens to rise up and realize what these politicians have done with Benjamin Netanyahu since 1996. I said this before, and people need to look this up. This is very important, that America has, over the last 25 years, we've gotten off of this clean break. And I don't know if people understand what that is. It's called the Clean Break Act. You can look this up for yourself, and please do. But the Clean Break Act was basically this understanding that General Wesley Clark, if people know who General Wesley Clark is, he was a general back in, I think, the 90s and the 2000s, etc. Awesome guy, love him. But he was given a memo, basically, of 7 countries that the United States and Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to dethrone from 1996 on forward, okay? There were 7 nations, okay? In 5 years, they wanted to accomplish this, okay? Well, that tells you right there the arrogancy and the pride of our government and the pride of one man, Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not talking about any other prime minister other than him, okay, because he's responsible for this with the American stupid politicians. Okay, so here we are. We're arrogant. We're riding on our coca, whatever we are, up there in Washington, D.C., and we think that we can go dethrone 7 nations in 5 years. Let me ask everybody, how did that go, and how is that going with the American economy, with the American citizens? I could care less about the military stuff. I could care less. Look at the economics. Look at all this. See, the thing about some of our American friends, not all of them, some of these Trump supporters now, or Obama supporters back then, or Biden supporters, or Bush supporters back in 01, the problem is pride. we think that we can impose our will on people in America, and these people are going to just say, oh gosh, the American empire, we can't defeat them. I mean, oh my gosh, let's tremble in our boots. The Americans, how has that gone for 25 years? The Americans are embarrassed right now. No wins in Afghanistan. Okay, let's look at it like this. Show me a victory in the Middle East in the last 25 years. Can anybody show me a victory that America has in the Middle East in 25 years, or a victory that Israel has had in the past 25 years? Can anybody show us a victory of America and Israel in the past 25 years? Okay, did we win in Iraq? No, we did not. Iraq has been a nightmare, and now they're coming. Have we won in Syria? Syria is more consolidated now, and they hate the Jewish people even more now. Iraqis hate the Jewish people even more now. You don't want to mess with these guys. These guys will turn your lights out, according to biblical prophecy. But I'm sure the Americans want to go fight Turks next. Okay, Israel will, so I'm sure America will, but we won't have the power to do that. Okay, have we got a victory in Libya? Libya is a third world country right now with a heck of a child slavery and child sex trafficking, one of the largest in the world. Congratulations, America. Sudan, we've made a mess out of Sudan. We've had a civil war. We split Sudan, and now we got another civil war in South Sudan. And now the UAE, Trump's lover, has come over there to help the Sudanese get even more pummeled. How about Somalia? Made a mess of Somalia. How about Yemen? How's that going? The Houthis are there. No one wants the Houthis because the Houthis will run you out of the Red Sea, which is what they did to President Trump. He's not going to admit that, but facts will say that he got ran out of the Red Sea with the battle with the Houthis, if you will. So please show me where a victory is, okay? I guess you can take Kuwait as a victory in the 1990s. I mean, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, congratulations. 40 years ago, you got a victory. Okay, cool. Over the Kuwaitis, or I'm sorry, over Saddam Hussein, congratulations, I guess. But show me the victories of all the money that we have spent. Afghanistan, $2 trillion in Afghanistan. The Taliban is still in control. Everybody, $2 trillion, 4,000 lives of the American soldiers dead, and the Taliban is still in control. They went over there in vain they went over there, and now the Taliban is still in control. Okay, show me the victories, everybody. Where am I going wrong? I'm not trying to be whatever about America or Israel, but just show me the victories is what I'm trying to say. Show me the victories in Lebanon. Show me the victories in Gaza. We've got Gaza right here. Let's go to Gaza. Let's go to Gaza right here. Show me the victory. We've got Hamas still in Gaza, locked and loaded. We can't get them out. 2.5 years. 2.5 years, they're still there. Hezbollah up here in southern Lebanon, they're still there after 4 decades, 40 years. That's what they were created for, is because how the Israelis went into Lebanon. Okay, so where's the victories? Where's the victories in Syria? Where's the victories wherever? I mean, show me a victory and I will repent. Okay, but please show me any victory that America and Israel has done. All we have done is made all of these countries hate the Jewish people more, has hate the Jewish people across the world even more, and has definitely hated America more than ever before. Why would they love us? Okay, so I don't mean to be any kind of way. I'm just trying to ask people seriously, like, where are the victories? I mean, just where are they? Where is all this dominance of America? And now we look at the American economy and we've got $39 trillion in debt. So let me get this straight. So if we were doing so holy, if we were doing so righteous, if we were living according to God's whatever and doing the right thing, why are we in debt? Why are we 39 trillions in debt if we're doing God's will? We are doing God's will, by the way, but not in a good way is what he's trying to say. So we need to understand is, where are the victories? I don't want to hear the political garbage. I don't want to hear Donald Trump, Obama, Biden, Bush, all of these liars keep lying to us about all these victories. There are no victories. The quartet has got you down to 39 trillion in debt. Your country is divided more than ever before in America. There's no upside to this at all. Oil prices are shooting up like you've never, and you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, so again, we're going to see how much the Americans are going to pay attention to this. And I think as the war keeps going on, because Iran's not ready to give up yet. I don't care what Donald Trump says. Iran's there. Okay, let's look at the facts, everybody. The facts are the regime is still intact with the son in charge now. So I guess congratulations, you killed an 86-year-old man and his family. Okay, great. Okay, he was going to die anyhow. So I guess we're going to get the son no matter what. So now you got the son, the same regime, same people. Okay, the Hormuz Strait still closed, and they're still shooting rockets at Israel and also the Gulf nations and ripping them up. Okay, yes, we're giving the business to Tehran as well, but that's not the point. We all know that we would give the business to Tehran. What the Americans and the Israelis didn't think is how much damage was going to be on the back burner. And boy, they have met in a dark alley a cat that is scratching back. I believe that would be accurate to say, because this war has no signs of slowing down, and it's not the easy victory that the Donald has said it was going to be. Okay, so let's look at our Gulf nation allies really quick, because again, Tehran is getting rock and rolled, everybody. I mean, of course, we're given punishment. 5,000 targets have been hit. I mean, like Trump said, we've run out of targets. Okay, so I guess, okay, wonderful. But let's look at the Gulf nations. Let's look at our allies and see how well they are doing. Okay, Kuwait, go do your research on Kuwait. The 5th Fleet of the Navy has been totally destroyed. Okay, go look at the satellite images. It looks like a moon crater. Okay, they have destroyed our infrastructure militarily, naval, also CIA, energy, you name it. Kuwait, welcome to the party. Bahrain, same thing. I think our 5th Fleet's in Bahrain, I think, so please forgive me. It's not in Kuwait, it's in Bahrain. Okay, so Bahrain, welcome to the party as well. And look at all the damage that these folks have gotten as well. They're not used to missiles flying through the skyscrapers, all these prosperity Islamists. Again, welcome to the party. Qatar, Qatar is another country that has been rock and rolled by the Iranian missiles as well. Infrastructure, militarily, also naval, energy, you name it. They're going after the economy of the United States because, again, they won't be able to beat the United States militarily. They'll beat us by using their smarts. They'll beat us by using their wisdom to get the American economy, who is on a house of cards already. And we've got to understand that the majority of this AI, my friends, the majority of this AI that you're seeing everybody fall in love with, great, but all of the AI was coming really out of the Gulf nations, is what people don't realize. And the economy, the U.S. economy, if I can say this, has been on a house of cards. And the only thing that's held it up is the AI. I think that would be logical to understand that as AI is taken off. So now Iran's coming after that. They're coming after banks now. They're coming after everything that's American to run the Americans out of the Middle East. That's their goal. Whether they reach it, we'll see. But so far, they have done hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage to these Gulf nations. And if you're these Gulf nations, would you trust America to secure you? I mean, the whole agreement with these Gulf nations is for their security for the American forces. And the American forces have let these people down. If you go look at what's going on the ground, they are getting pummeled. And why I'm laughing is because they've spread a lot of terror across the Middle East by not using their hands, because they're hypocrites. Okay, they use their dirty money, okay, to feed Hamas, feed Boko Haram, feed all these terrorist groups that are killing Christians and killing the Jewish people as well, and killing Muslims as well. So like I said, I don't have any sympathy for these Gulf nations. They're all a bunch of traitors and they're all a bunch of hypocrites, okay? And welcome to the party, pal, is what I say to these people, because you think they have any security from Iran now? They're right across the, look at it, look at where they are. This is target practice, my friends. Iran's right here. Iran's right here. I mean, this is just target practice, man, across the Persian Gulf. This is simple stuff. And they have lit them up like the 4th of July, if I can say that. Okay, so Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, the UAE, one of the biggest hypocritical nations there is, supporting killing the Sudanese in South Sudan. Actually, Saudi Arabia is on the other side of that, actually. So they have border problems as well, Arabia and the UAE, and they're on opposite sides of the Sudan situation. But these people are killers, okay, with their money. And that's why I say, welcome to the party, Abu Dhabi, and also Dubai. These people are all prosperity Islamists. And look at what's happening They're not used to that, my friends. They're not used to missiles flying through the rooftops, okay, through the luxury that these people are living in, the whore of Arabia. Okay, so again, welcome to the party, Arabia. Welcome to the party, Gulf nations. Here you go. Okay, so again, we're not protecting these people at all. Okay, let's go to the next understanding, Yemen, Oman. But yeah, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, they are going to have a say in this American dominance of the Middle East because we have proven that we cannot help these people. In fact, there's been a lot of controversy with the Arab nations and with Israel and America because whenever the going got tough, and these are reports that let you know that it's not going exactly the way that the Donald is saying, okay, that there is another side to this situation. There's a flip side to this coin. And I think as this war goes on, you're going to see this come out more and more. There's trickles of this coming through CNN, and all these people are finally seeing that this is not going the way that it's pretended to be on CBS and Fox News, especially the Donald Trump network. Okay, we got to really understand that this is not going the way that it's going. Again, Iran, look at the facts. Hormuz Strait still closed. The regime is still in place. No threats of that whatsoever. And they're still shooting rockets at the Gulf nations and with Israel. Okay, so to me right there, those 3 points tells you there's no signs of stopping, everybody. We got to understand that from an Iranian perspective, if I can say this, from an Iranian perspective, just to be geopolitical for a minute, let's get our hearts out of the way for a minute, and let's look at it geopolitical. Geopolitical, why in the world would the Iranians negotiate with the Americans? Why would they? Okay, they're an evil regime. When I say evil regime, the Iranian government is an evil regime, number one. But if you're going to get involved with negotiations, we can't be doing any slick stuff or any bad business or not good faith, okay? And that's what the Americans have done. America should have never gotten into negotiations, number one, with the Islamists. But since they did, they have the right, or they have the you got to respect these people, and you got to respect the negotiations, and you got to do what you say you're going to do. And twice the Americans have tricked them and have bombed them during the middle of negotiations. This is facts. So again, I don't think we should have been negotiating at all. But if you decide to negotiate with them as a Christian nation, we should do our job with good faith in the negotiations. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are hypocrites, okay? They're not good faith negotiators. They're real estate con men, okay, is what they are. Just like Donald Trump is a con man. Okay, that's what these real estate people are, everybody. So they weren't in good faith. So why would the Iranians trust the American government to get back in negotiations after they bombed them twice in the middle of negotiations? Why would they, from an Iranian perspective? So in my opinion, and what you're about to see, is Iran's going to make it to be, they're going to have the leverage if they can. And a lot of people that I listen to, about 20 to 30 people, saying that they are going to be able to do this. They're going to force the leverage to where America's not going to be able, they're going to control the negotiations, is basically what I'm saying. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. We'll see if these people are right or not, but time will tell. But to me, the longer this war goes, the advantage is to Iran, because they're on their home turf. We're 6,000 miles across seas. It takes a lot of logistics for us to refuel. And I mean, it's a lot that goes into this, everybody. You're spending about $1 billion to $2 billion a day, American people. So I hope this is worth it. You're going to feel it in the future, not right now. Well, you are right now, but the gas prices are baby crap compared to about what's coming up economically to this country from what the Donald has done. With the Gulf Arab nations, we've lost a lot of military power over there and economic power because of this war right here. So we're going to see what happens, and people are going to look back on this, I believe, as a Battle of Gettysburg, if you will, for the American economy. I think when historians look back, when we get 20 years from now, 30 years from now, people are going to look back like they look back on the Iraq War, and they're going to see the hypocrisy and the lies that have gone into this by the Trump administration and the Netanyahu administration. Of course, the Iranian administration. I don't care about that. I care about our side and doing the godly thing on our side, because if we don't do the godly thing on our side, you think we're going to be given the blessings? Of course we're not. And that's why you're into a stray cat fight, a back alley fight with a stray cat right now, and that cat is going to scratch, okay, back. And that's where we are. So my friends, For me, as an American citizen, I'm deeply discouraged and concerned about where this is going. I think we've been hoodooed again into a foreign war, just like I said about 10 days ago. And my opinion has only concreted more of how this is going to end. It's not going to end good for the American empire, if one's into that. This is the Middle East has been dethroned of American hegemony. Okay. American dominance in the Middle East is over. I'm not saying we won't have a presence there. We will, but it'll be a very, very less presence. Because like I said, would you trust the American government now? After your city has been lit up like a 4th of July celebration in Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, would you have faith that the Americans could protect you over there? Well, Iran's showing that they cannot protect you, okay? If you're Israel, would you think the Americans can support you and secure you anymore? Of course they can't. Look at Tel Aviv, look at Haifa, look at Jerusalem, look at southern Israel. Look at what's going down. Why would the Israelis have any faith in the American government of all this stuff? Which, number one, they should be looking to God, number one, instead of America. But since America's put all this man-made stuff over there, how's that working for the Israelis? How's the Iron Dome working? How's the Arrow working? How's all this other man-made stuff? So like I said many times before, and people hate this stuff, but it's true, God's going to get rid of all the man-made stuff because he's not going to share his glory with the Iron Dome. He's not going to share his glory with the Arrow. He's not going to share his glory with none of this man-made stuff, the David sling or whatever it's called, man-made stuff. They need to put their faith in Yeshua, and he will take care of all these people. They don't need a gun. They don't need a weapon. They don't need a bomb. They certainly don't need the United States of America with all their money and all their weapons to come over and get these people in further judgment is what it's done. If one does not believe that, go read Isaiah 30 and 31. Go read Hosea 5. Go read Jeremiah 2. And there you go. And God is the same. He doesn't want Israel to go looking for foreign military help. He said it through 3 great prophets, really 4 with Moses. But who in the world's going to listen to Moses? Who in the world's going to listen to the prophets? They're not. And we're not, because no one's biblical. Everybody's political instead of biblical. Everybody's trusting in Trump and Netanyahu instead of the Bible. And what God is doing, what God is showing on this earth, and what he's showing on this earth, Israel's been breached, okay? Go back to Nebuchadnezzar. Go read him. What happened? Nebuchadnezzar breached them. Hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. They did not wake up, and here comes the destruction, man. And this is the same thing. Israel's trusting in their own power, work of their hands, and America's power, which is idolatry, according to those 3 prophets that I said, Jeremiah 2, Isaiah 31, and also Hosea 5. They're going out of alignment, and God's allowed this. He's one by one. Hamas, wake up. Hezbollah, wake up. Here comes the varsity teams. Wake up. Twice, wake up. They're not going to wake up, and he's breached them twice. Iran has breached Jerusalem or Tel Aviv twice, Israel twice, just like Nebuchadnezzar did. Okay, he's trying to wake the people up to repent. Goodness, I mean, it's so simple if we read the Bible. He's wanting the people to repent, and he's not going to give them any victories. Again, please, any Israelis who I love or any Americans who I love, please show me any victory that America and Israel has gotten the last 25 years. Please show me any victory that they have done. And no one can show any victories because they have not beaten any of these people. They're not going anywhere. These people are here to stay until they repent. That is Torah, that is prophets, that is Psalms, and that is the gospel account of Yeshua telling the people to wake up. Bad times are coming. Kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, all of these things. Hamas is still in Gaza, locked and loaded. Hezbollah is still firing rockets to this day right now at Israel. Syria is more consolidated than ever. Bad for the Jewish people. Iraq is going to come back to haunt them again. They hate the Jewish people. Jordan will rise up eventually. Esau. Egypt hates them. Libya hates them. Sudan hates them. And Somalia is going to come with them and hate them. The Houthis hate them. They haven't done anything with the Houthis. The only people that love Israel right here are the prosperity Islamists. And I don't think they like them anymore because their country has been bombed tremendously because of the war. So they have turned, everybody's going to turn against the Jewish people, and all of these nations are going to come together for the beast kingdom, is what people need to understand. Nothing good is coming with this. Only bad is coming with this. All they're doing is escalating it to the next bad boy. The next bad boy, just like Daniel 10 will tell you, is Javan, not Greece. Greece is an ally with Israel, an ally with Israel. They're not going to attack Israel. They're an ally. Please go look at what Benjamin Netanyahu and the prime minister of Greece and the Cyprus guy as well. They got together as a little pack because of Turkey's influence. Okay, so Benjamin Netanyahu is telling you Turkey is next. The ex-prime minister Naftali Bennett is telling you that Turkey is next, which goes exactly with Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Daniel 8, Daniel 10. Here you go. Welcome to the end of the age, everybody. Welcome to biblical prophecy. And it's time to get right, okay, with the Lord. If we're not right, it's time to repent. It's time for the Jewish people to repent, the Americans to repent, the Islamists to repent as well, because they're going to get a heavy sword with Yeshua coming. He's going to take care of all these people, okay? 200 million, okay? Good thing, more than that, but that's what the Bible records. So no one's going to have the power to do this other than Yeshua the Messiah. And if our brothers and sisters in Israel will understand that, we wouldn't have what we're seeing today and what we're seeing about to come to our brothers and sisters over there, which is bad stuff, everybody. How do I know that? Biblical prophecy and the blood moons and the solar eclipses. Because of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, they were both born on one of these signs, which are bad signs. Donald Trump was born on a blood moon. And I'll go ahead and tell everybody this. As far as the Islamic nations are concerned, is this. The Islamic nations, or I'll tell you this, we talked about it before, that America's influence is waning in the Middle East because of what you're seeing now. The Arab nations, the Islamic, the Gulf nations, etc. That's common sense. I mean, why wouldn't they be upset with America? So either two things are going to happen. And again, Donald Trump's caught in one heck of a political situation here, one heck of a geopolitical situation here. So either he's going to have to turn his back on Israel, which he will, and go with the Islamists, which he will, in my opinion, my prediction, because of the money, okay, or he's going to lose the Middle East with American dominance. So one of the two, and either way is bad, okay, one of the two. Either he's going to try to save American dominance by cozying up to the Islamic Gulf nations, which, let me remind everybody, Saudi Arabia put $2 billion in Jared Kushner's fund. UAE put $200 million in Jared Kushner's fund. And Qatar put $300 million in Jared Kushner's fund. So we're going to see how good Jared Kushner and Donald Trump truly is on this negotiations and political stuff, because they've got a mess to deal with personally and as a nation of America. And that's the problem. They got their personal family business over there. Steve Witkoff, the Qataris had to bail him out of the McFarland Hotel in New York City, $640 million. You don't think they got him by the short hairs? Yes. Jared Kushner, short hairs. Donald Trump, short hairs. And what they have done to these people have turned their back on these people. That's the way they're looking at it now. Because I'm about to show you an article that's pretty interesting as well about one of these billionaires who've come against all this stuff and who holds major political clout over in the Gulf nations. And most of you probably have known what this guy said, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is this, is Donald Trump has put himself in one heck of a corner here. Either lose American dominance in the Middle East, which the American empire would go down more, which we'll get to Sunday, or he's going to have to turn his back on Israel and go with them. That's going to be the choice that he makes. And my friends, like I said, this man was born and birthed on a blood moon. The creator of the universe born this man on a blood moon. Any rabbi will tell you that means bad for the Jewish people. A blood moon means warning for the Jewish people. Get right, Jewish people. Watch, warning, not fall in love with the American president, okay, or the prime minister of Israel, because he birthed these two men that's leading these two nations right now. Donald Trump on a blood moon, he birthed him on birthday, and then Benjamin Netanyahu, he born him on a solar eclipse. You tell me, those are bad signs, everybody. And I'm not saying anybody who was born on these things is a bad sign. but they're not the president of the United States. They're not the leader of Iran, and they're not the prime minister of Israel. Okay, God is trying to say, wake up, Jewish people, wake up, American people, especially the Christians and the Jews, and get out of your idolatry of these two men and understand that you're headed for tribulation when these two men get out of office. I don't know how hard that is to understand. Look at the Middle East. Look at look at what's going down. Look at this Iranian conflict. You think this is going to be an easy victory? How's that going? You've got you a back alley fight now with someone who's coming out against them, and they don't have any. Why would they negotiate with? Number one, they said they're not negotiating with the Americans. Why would they? They've been bombed twice by doing that. They're going to make as much as they can from their perspective. America pay the price of running out, get them out of the Middle East, and they're going to make Israel pay the price as well, which they are. Okay, so you're going to see negotiations, my friends, in my understanding. And if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. My understanding is these negotiations, Iran's going to have the leverage. They're going to get the sanctions off of them, let their citizens breathe from the economic terrorism that we've done to them, the citizens, that is. They're going to get those lifted off. And I think it's going to be a different Middle East, okay? And if you're I'll say this just in fairness, if you're the Gulf nations, if you're the prosperity nations of these evil people, the government, I'm talking about the government, I'm not talking about the citizens of these countries, I'm talking about these dictatorships, these family dictatorships of these countries who just take all the money for themselves, we're going to find out what happens to these guys. But if you're the Gulf nations right now, you look at what's happened, look at the map, you have Iran, look how big Iran is, look how big this nation is. This isn't Iraq, this isn't Venezuela. This is a huge country, my friends, of 93 million people. And now you've got all of these Arab nations right here, these Gulf nations, all of their eyes are on Iran because they're scared to death because they have no way of defending themselves. I mean, do you blame them? So in my opinion, I think some of the understanding that I've seen coming out is this right here, that some of the Egypt, El-Sisi has said this as well in Egypt. El-Sisi's just come out recently to say what he said about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, what did he say? He wanted the Arab nations to come together to check Israel. What does that mean? That means the 10 kings, everybody. So what you're going to see here is the Islamists come together like Fred and Ginger and Lester and Earl, if you know what I'm talking about. They're going to come together as one, okay, just like Revelation 17 says. They come together for one mind to destroy Israel, okay? So the Sunnis and the Shias are going to come together. The Shias going down, the Sunnis rising up. Everybody, Sunni, Turkey, Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, Libya, Arabia, that's the Sunnis. The Shia, you can think of Iran only, basically, in the proxy groups, which doesn't mean much. But Iran's the Shia, okay? And we've got to understand that you're going to see the brothers coming together. You're going to see the Sunnis and the Shias put all their differences to the aside, because what they are seeing, and I'm telling you from their side of the equation, not from mine, from what they are saying, is they're seeing Iran take a heavy punch from America and Israel. I mean, a heavy punch. We all know what America and Israel can do. Go look at Gaza. Go look at the Middle East the last 25 years. We know what they can do. Okay, no victories, but we know what we can do militarily wise. So what are they saying now? These Gulf nations, some of the rumors that you're hearing come out of these Gulf nations, I'm about to show you an article as well. They're seeing Iran take a heavy punch from the Americans and the Israelis, some of the two greatest armies in the world, and they're still there. And they're fighting back, and they're destroying their nations. So the Gulf nations are saying, okay, we're seeing Iran take a heavy punch from a superpower and a regional power, two great armies, taking a heavy punch from them, and they're still fighting back, and the regime is still in place. We got to get out of this American-Israeli point of view. You got to look at what they are saying, what the Islamists are saying, what the Arabs are saying, what they are saying, because there's 500 million of them, and there's only 7 million Jewish people in that area. There's 500 million of the Islamists, okay, or the Muslim people, okay? And not all of them are bad people, okay? But there's about 200 million that will be, according to Revelation. So that's the not the word on the street. That's what some of these guys are saying in the Gulf nations, is they're seeing their adversary Iran, Saudi Arabia, seeing their adversary Iran take a heavy punch. I mean, goodness gracious, 5,000 targets have been hit in Iran. So America and Israel, of course, the military power, of course, no one can debate that. But look at the other side of it. They're seeing Iran take that beating, but at the same time, give a beating. You know what I'm saying? And from the Islamist standpoint, from Islam's standpoint, they like that. Okay, that's what the Islamists are seeing, that these people can take a punch, but they can give a punch. You see what I'm saying? And not too many Islamic countries can do that with America, right? Turkey could, and Iran can. Turkey and Iran could do that. Turkey could take it as well. You don't want to go against the Turks. Biblical prophecy gives the Turks the favor. Okay, so that's why I say that, not any kind of way against America, whatever, but biblical prophecy, the Turks will have the leverage on everybody, the favor. That's Nebuchadnezzar had the favor, and no one was going to come against Nebuchadnezzar because God gave him the favor. God has given Iraq the favor for many years. Now he's given Iran the favor, and now he's going to give Turkey the favor, and then he's going to give the beast kingdom the favor to go against his people. Do you understand? And so that they can repent. All this is about is teshuvah, repentance, teshuvah, and the Jewish people are not getting that memo. Okay, they're not understanding that as a nation to repent, and the pride is going out to the greater Israel and things like that. That just will not happen. That just will not happen. I'll tell anybody that no one can say it's going to happen. How's that going? Actually, the JV teams are still there. Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Iran's still there. They will be there. Syria's still there with an Al-Qaeda leader that Trump seems to love at the White House, a good-looking man, a strong man. I mean, doing a great job killing Christians, I guess. Okay. That's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a government that is out of alignment. The American government is way out of alignment with morality, okay, with morals and values and standards. They have none, zero. Okay, we've got Christians being killed, Alawites being killed in Syria, but what a great job Shalara is doing. How disgusting is that when our brothers are being killed over there? Again, hopefully people are seeing the mask come off of Donald Trump. Hopefully. I doubt it. Some people are going to ride with him to idolatry and go to hell. But okay, see how that's going with everybody. And again, like I always have to tell my American friends, is how is that going for the golden age? Is this what you voted for? The golden age? Can't you see the golden age ahead of you, Christians? Can't you see the golden age, Americans? Can you see it? Can you see it? Okay, let's get to reality, please. Let's get biblical, please. And let's get out of the idolatry of the golden age and the greater Israel and all these things that are just being crushed in front of your eyes. Only the idolaters are the ones not seeing this stuff go down. It's sad, but it's true. Okay, I've got a lot of friends who are still in that Kool-Aid drinking of Donald Trump and the Israeli government as well. How's that going for 25 years? How is that going, everybody? And that's what I'll say. People get so caught up in the military victory, if you will, and they lose the economic victory. They lose the economic battle. They lose the political battle. They lose the geopolitical battle. They lose the credentials because we have none, because we raise up people and we kill people over there that we use and abuse, the Kurds, the ISIS, the Al-Qaedas, and all these groups that we use and abuse all throughout the world. How's that going? It's called the golden rule. How's that going, everybody? And you have not seen anything yet, America, of what's coming to you. This is the Battle of Gettysburg, if you will, of the Civil War. This is what you're going to see. You will look at this as a marker. People can't really see it right now because we're in true time. 20 years from now, I would say even seven to 10 years from now, I don't even know if it'll take that long. People will look back at this as an overall nation and be like, Iraq. It'll be just like what people think about Iraq. What a terrible decision by George W. Bush. People will be saying that about Donald Trump as well. Okay, because no one can say this has been a very good strategic. Go listen to these people. I mean, I don't know what the objective still is after 12 days. They keep changing it because they keep moving the goalposts because Donald Trump doesn't want to make it look bad. I thought it was regime change. Didn't you? Regime change. That's all we heard. Lindsey Graham, Donald Trump, the generals on Fox TV, which I would never listen to. Regime change. Well, how's that going? You lost. And now they don't have a plan. Smoke and mirrors. Everything keeps changing. Okay, smoke and mirrors. And now, from the research that I've done and the people that I listen to, not saying that they're right or whatever, but so far they've been right for 3 or 4 years. The same people I've listened to, look at what's going down. Okay, President Trump has called Russia wanting a ceasefire. Trump did. And what did Iran say? No, no, we're going to ride this out. So Iran's trying to get the leverage to their point, and we will know. I can speculate all I want, but we will know who has the leverage once we get to that point. And when you see the economic sanctions going off of Iran, when you see these things that Trump's going to spin and say, well, you know what, we love the Iranian people, we're going to give the sanctions off, whatever, that's admitting defeat in his own language, okay? Because he can't admit defeat because he's a narcissist, okay? He's never going to do that. He's not trained to do that. Go look up Roy Cohn and Donald Trump. That's who he learned from when he was younger. And he's a master of the media because of Roy Cohn, who taught him to lie, lie, lie all the time. Okay, and that's what Donald Trump does most of the time, is project, gaslight, and lie. Okay, that's what I mean, I can prove him wrong of every sentence he makes pretty much in this war. If you go look at the facts on the ground, I mean, it's very simple. So quit listening to a bunch of gaslighting messages from the American government. And Obama did it, George Bush did it, but they weren't as good as this guy. Trump is the best of this, okay? I'm not saying that's good. I think it's despicable, but I think he's the best at it. Obama's nothing compared to Donald Trump. Bill Clinton's nothing. I told people, Donald Trump's the best politician you'll ever see. How's that going, MAGA? MAGA, how's that going? Didn't he say no more wars, no more foreign wars, stupid wars? Can't believe these stupid people, Biden's stupid. Go listen to what this man has said. Go listen to him, Trump supporters. Got to call you out. Go listen to what this man has said. Okay, 2016 on Ford. He basically retired George Bush, or not George Bush, Jeb Bush. He retired the Bush family. He retired the Clinton family in 2016 because of no foreign wars. And Mr. Hypocrite comes around on his second term, and he does the exact thing that he got on the Jeb Bush about on national television. Go look it up. It's on national TV, one of the debates. And then what he ran on, what did he run on, Trump supporters? No more wars. I can't believe these stupid wars. And here we are in a dogfight in a back alley, and it has no chance of slowing down here soon, because Iran, if these people are correct, if these generals and commanders and ex-CIA officers and military, everybody I listen to, if they're right, then we've got ourselves one heck of a fight. And Iran's trying to get the advantage in their side, because why wouldn't they? They've been bombed twice in 2 years in the middle of negotiations. So why wouldn't they try to basically turn the leverage to their leverage instead of being bombed again in about 6 months or whatever? So you see what I'm saying? So they're going to try to turn the leverage against the United States and embarrass your president in America. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with all of that. I've told you guys from the beginning, don't listen to me. I'm just going off what the prophet Daniel felt. The prophet Daniel in Daniel 10 was sick to his stomach. That doesn't mean Israel gets the victory, everybody. Daniel 10, he's sick to his stomach about what he saw with the kingdom of Persia fighting Israel twice. He was sick. And then Daniel 8, he was sick because what happens after Turkey gets involved, crushing Iran, beast kingdom, and comes against his people, the holy people. And he says in Daniel 8, go read it for yourself, at the end of the age, the pride of the people will be broken, is what the Jewish prophet said to the Jewish people of today. Okay, and that's what the message we've got to get to our Jewish brothers and sisters. This is not ain't life grand, go conquer the promised land, all this kumbaya stuff. It's no, repent, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and the great tribulation is at hand. Okay, coming right after this. So like I've always said, if we were all doing so good and so holy, why is the Jewish people thrown into the great tribulation right after this? Wouldn't they be rewarded with the millennial kingdom? No, it's not yet. They will be rewarded with the millennial kingdom. The remnant will be once Iran, Turkey, beast kingdom, Antichrist, Yeshua. When Yeshua returns, then he'll put his throne in Elam. Then he will crush all of the Islamic nations. Go read the judgment of the nations in Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. People are trying to put the Israeli government in that section right now, and that's idolatry. That's the day of the Lord. Adonai, King Yeshua, is going to come and crush all these Islamists out there, all of them. Go look at the prophecies. Go read Isaiah 10 through 23. Read Ezekiel 25 through 32. Ezekiel 32, he puts these people in hell, the pit. He names them Elam. So he's the one who does that. Elam's in the Ezekiel 32, where he throws them into hell. So you tell me, is the Jewish people, the government, Israeli government's going to throw Elam into hell? They're not righteous enough to do that. They're not set apart to do that. They're not the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So we've got to look at all these prophecies as the day of the Lord. Ezekiel 25 through 32. Ezekiel 32, he throws these people in the pit, hell. Elam is in there. That means Elam's going to be there till the end of the age. Persia. Okay, who else? Isaiah 10 through 23, judgment of the nations. Jeremiah 46 through 52, judgment of the nations by Yeshua only, not the Israeli government or especially the American government. They're idol. So we got to understand that. We got to get out of this human being stuff. Ain't life grand? Human beings are going to do this. They're not going to do nothing except get judged. The Americans and the Israelis and the Islamists, all of us. So how happy is that message, everybody? Please go read it and weep, because this country is about to go into a lot of problems. Okay, everybody's on this sugar high of all this military destruction. Well, take your lap around the field. Congratulations, you killed the Supreme. Oh, wonderful, great. Now you got the more radical one, because if people don't know their history and they don't know their education with this stuff, Persia, this guy, he's an evil guy, the one who died. The Khamenei, I've been saying this since I've written books on it, okay? This guy's evil, okay? The Iranian government's evil. But what he did do is, for his religious beliefs, he did not do a nuclear weapon. Why? Because it's against the Shia religion, okay? And it kills innocent people is what he said, whatever. But the bottom line is it's well documented this guy held these radicals back from getting a nuclear weapon. Go look it up. Go deep into research. Quit listening to all these politicians. And then now you got all the radicals, because he was the one who kind of stood in the way of that because of his beliefs. And I don't agree with his beliefs of Islam, but for his beliefs, nuclear weapons, I'm all about that. I don't think anybody should have nuclear weapons. Even Israel and America should not have nuclear weapons. I don't trust Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu with a nuclear weapon. Goodness gracious. I mean, those are the two you got to worry about, because they have the most power in the world. You see what I'm saying? We have the most power in the world. So any leader that we have, I would say the same thing about Obama, Ariel Sharon, or whoever the prime minister is. I don't trust these people with a nuclear weapon. I don't trust any human being with a nuclear weapon. Of course not. And of course, I don't trust anyone else. So I think all nuclear weapons should be dissolved. So that's what I would say is for Israel and America to give up your nuclear weapons, China give up yours, Russia to give up yours, Pakistan give up yours, everybody give up your nuclear weapons is what I would say. Okay, but you know, people love death, so I'm sure everybody loves nuclear weapons. But the bottom line is we've got to understand where this is going, and where this is going, biblical prophecy speaking, is only to the next empire that's going to be bad. Okay, and we've got to realize where we are instead of all this. Goodness, we should have known this, or I should have known. I'll talk about myself. I should have known this, because Yeshua says deception will reign and people are going to be out of their skulls at the end of the age, which they are, especially our people. So we got to realize that. We got to realize that our side is what God is going on, okay? He's judging the Jewish people on their behavior, not Iran's behavior, not Turkey's behavior, not Hamas's behavior. He's judging them on their behavior. And that's what the Mosaic covenant says, okay? So everybody loves Moses until you get real with people, and then everybody doesn't like Moses, okay? But Moses tells the Jewish people, do good, stay, do bad, get out, okay? And I know that's blunt, but that's what he says. Well, he actually says rougher than that. But go read Deuteronomy 28 through 30 to get the pure convictions of what this man said. Once the people are in the land and once they start behaving a bad way, there is no victories. There's only curses and there's only judgment until they repent. And that's where we are now. And for 77 years, it's been this way. How has that gone? There is no conquering of the promised land coming. Now, that hasn't come about until the last few years with Benjamin Netanyahu, of course. But how has that gone in the last 25 years? Look at this. Look at the reality of this. How's that gone for the Americans? How's that gone for the Jewish people, the Israelis? How's that going for the Jewish people across the world? We'll get into that on another video. Not too good. Not too good. So I'm not sure how people can't look at it. I've said this before. For me, my personal life, if things aren't going well for me, I always look and say, okay, there's something going on with me. Okay, obviously. There's something going on. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why can't we do that with America and Israel? Why can't we say, what are we doing wrong? We're $39 trillion in debt. $39 trillion in debt. That's a cursed nation in the Torah, Deuteronomy 28 through 30. A cursed nation is a debtor nation. And right now, the two nations that I love, Israel and America, we're both debtor nations because of war, and more war, conquering the promised land. How's that going, by the way? Okay, so we're $39 trillion in debt here, and that will only go further now. You've added probably about $50 to $75 billion in 2 wars, okay? And you don't have any ammunitions left, by the way, Americans, so congratulations. So it's going to take us about 10 to 15 years to get back up to the production of, and I'm sure they'll probably simplify it and get a little bit more production going, but at current production rates right now for America, it'll take us, they say, 10 to 15 years to get back to where we used to be with munitions and stuff, because we've been at war for 25 years. Okay, I mean, they can't make them quick enough. And we're not like Russia. We're not like even Iran. Iran can produce hundreds of missiles every month because they do it underground. I don't know how many people know that. So don't listen to your politicians. Look at the facts. So Iran can outproduce us in missiles. They can buy plenty. Russia can as well. Russia is a machine gun with this stuff. They are built for war, okay? They can produce bombs and weapons. We just can't do that. So the Americans need to understand we are at a disadvantage on the world stage because of 25 years of foreign wars and crazy stuff. And how has that gone? Okay, the Americans are hated more than ever before. The Jewish people are hated more than ever since the Holocaust. Then Israel's in the worst position they've ever been in since 80-70. The American empire is in the worst position since we've been in an American empire since 45. So you guys tell me where we are. Okay, this is realistic stuff. This is on the ground factual stuff. We're 39 trillion in debt. Donald Trump cannot manipulate that. Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu can't manipulate $350 billion of debt in Israel. They can't manipulate that. They can gaslight everything else. They can't do that. Okay, look at the facts on the ground. Where's the victories of the last 25 years since Benjamin Netanyahu has been in office of 20 of those years? Where are the victories, everybody? I just don't see them. And like I said, God has shown, I'm going to speak for myself, God has shown me that these two leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, they're both born on one of these sides. They're the ones making bad decisions. And Khamenei as well. He was born on a solar eclipse as well. He's no longer. Okay, so now we've got these two guys born on one of the other of these sides, Donald Trump, a blood moon, solar eclipse, Benjamin Netanyahu. So you guys tell me where I'm wrong. God is warning all of us to pay attention to him and not politics. Pay attention to him and understand we're at the end of the age. We got too many people thinking that it's not the end of the age because, well, they were thinking that until Donald Trump got in and said the golden age, and then they got deceived and they're thinking it's the golden age to the end of the age. But I'm here to tell you, how's that going, everybody? So my friends, I come to you, really in love, but at the same time, it's a very serious conversation. People hate to have this conversation, but we must have this conversation because what I've seen for 25 years, that's why it's simple to understand. If anyone thinks that he's going to give a victory to America and Israel on what he's going to do, get out of your idolatry, get out of your abominations of our Savior and our King, who's going to do this himself. He's going to put the throne of his father in Elam, not anyone else. Okay, he's going to crush all of these people, not anyone else. And like I said, how has that gone for Israel and America for 25 years? I think the facts speak for themselves. So thank you very much, everybody. I probably won't get into too much. I want to show you one thing before we get to the comments really quick, and then I'll go to the comments after this before we close. I know it's been 3 hours. I really appreciate everybody being on tonight. Something to watch for here is Turkey here, please. Watch this. If they keep firing missiles to this nation here in Turkey, they will eventually get in this war. I'm not saying they will. I don't think they will, but they could. Okay, they could with all the missiles and stuff if they keep firing them over there. But my friends, this is going to change the entire Middle East. What you're seeing now with the American hegemon over in the Middle East, that is going to be no longer. No longer do we have the dominance of the Middle East. We have no air bases, no naval bases, all of our infrastructure is destroyed, CIA offices, hotels, you name it. Now they're going after the banks. I mean, we don't have a presence. The Iraqi base over here has been bombed and also surrounded, if you will. They've kind of taken over that base. We are being run out of the Middle East, okay? Saudi Arabia's bases are being just bombed as well. Again, they're trying to run the American empire out of the Middle East, just like they did the British Empire, just like they did all the other Anglo-Saxon empires, I'll call it that have been over there. They want the infidels to get out of their land, okay, because we've been over there for decades and the people are sick of it, okay? And now you got someone who is in a back alley fight with you trying to do that, bombing all these countries. Man, I mean, again, I'll say it like this. Just how impressive it is. If you like this kind of stuff, I don't like it, but I'm just making the comment. If one likes the military bombs and blowing up things, if someone's into that, then it's been a very impressive thing with the American and the Israeli military bombing Tehran and Iran. If you're into that kind of crap, I'm not, but it's been it's been very impressive if you are into that. Just like it's been impressive for the Americans and the Israelis doing that, it's been impressive of what Iran has done as well, bombing 17 countries, and nobody's coming against them but America and Israel. That's the only two. No one else wants a piece of this, okay? And they have bombed 17 countries and have destroyed the infrastructure of the military, the naval, the business, energy, you name it. They have shut the LNG gas off, oil off. It's just not flowing. And they have shut the Hormuz Strait. And all that bombastic rhetoric that Trump has made, we're going to insure you. How's that going? It's still the same way. We're going to escort you through there. How is that going? Go ahead and try that. You'll have missiles flying at you. And they have not done that. So you can't listen to all this bombastic rhetoric, okay, that's going on and look at the facts on the ground. And again, the regime is still in place. But, I mean, that's not even a conversation. That will never happen. They're bombing all of the nations still. And the Hormuz Strait is closed. Those three indicators tell you that Iran is not doing as bad as CBS and Fox News is portraying this, okay? They're doing, for their standpoint, they're holding their own. I'll just say that, because all they have to do is survive. If they survive, they win. Please understand that. If the goals were regime change, which you're not going to hear that forever now, because, you know, they're not. Why would Trump say that? He's going to look terrible. He does look terrible because people are not. The Christians and the Jewish people who support him, they're going to say, okay, yeah, we won. No, you didn't. You didn't reach any goals that you have achieved at all. They will have more missiles. They'll have more rockets. They'll have more everything. I mean, so in all this talk about their Navy has been destroyed, I'm not debating that, but people don't understand how Iran is organized. Okay, so you had the Iranian army and you had the IRGC army, two different armies, okay? The IRGC is the bad boys, okay? The Iranian army, who cares? Okay, just like that, you have the Iranian Navy, which is the one that Trump's talking about. I don't think they destroyed all of the Navy, but most of it, okay, great. But there's the bad boy Navy, which is the IRGC. So Trump's not going to make that decision, that distinction, but I will. Go look it up, go fact check it. The Iranian Navy is different than the RGC Navy. The Iranian Army is different than the RGC Army. If you can defeat the RGC, then you'll win. But if you can't, you can't. They have not even come close to this, okay? So it would take a ground invasion, and again, that won't work, okay? That will never work. They will be sending these guys in to die a bad death, okay? To go, I mean, I watched a history channel or something like that went over the geology and the geography of Iran and how God created that piece of land over there. And man, I mean, that's why they haven't been conquered much, is because the geology that God created this country with. I mean, just go look it up and go look at the videos of historical channels that just look at the topography, go look at the geology, go look at the deserts, go look at the mountains on the side that separates Iraq and Iran. I mean, good luck with that, man. It's kind of like Afghanistan. You just can't do it. I mean, why would you want to do it? What does it serve? Because you're not going to win anyhow. So again, my friends, we got to look at this in all different ways to understand that people are being gaslit right now tremendously. Even some of my friends are being gaslit because they think America's going to go in there and change the regime. In 12 days, they have not even come close to that. They've killed the leader of fire. Okay, great. But that's not, again, people are just uneducated. That's not, you can kill all the leaders, but their system is still in place. Okay, their constitution is still in place. Yes, they do have a constitution. Okay, they have a understanding of this, and it wasn't ever in doubt. So all of this nonsense, go look it up yourself. Don't trust me. Go look it up yourself. And again, look at the 12 days. Trump said this would be an easy victory, 12 days, and it's still going. Okay, please understand that as this war keeps going on, it's going to make Donald Trump look worse, and America look worse, and Israel look worse the longer this goes, because all of these lies that they are projecting on everybody is going to come out to be false. I mean, they're going. I mean, not the lies are true, but they're going to just speak lies. I mean, what they have said. If you go look at the interview, because I like to look at people with their body language, also with their reactions and things like that, and not really listen to them. I can't really listen to these people. I don't even like to listen to any people because they're all gaslighting everybody. But if you just read the TV on the bottom, turn it on mute, and look at their body language. When Donald Trump was asked on the airplane, and Pete Hegseth was in back of him, and I think Steve Witkoff was in back of him, and he was asked if we did the bombing of the schoolgirls or whatever, if you look at Pete Hegseth's body language, it's totally different than Mr. Testosterone and no mercy and go kill them all and we're the dominant superpower and all this tough language that we have to use to make sure that everybody knows that we're the big bad America. Who does that? I mean, are we children? Or are we adults here? I mean, do we have to be the superheroes of the comic books? Because that's what it looks like to me, is we got a bunch of superheroes up in the American government, and they're really a comic book, is what I think. I mean, you look at these people and they're like wanting to be the superheroes of the comic books, if you will. But that rhetoric's kind of calmed down here. If you look at the trajectory of day 1 to day 12, that bombastic rhetoric is a little, well, Trump will continue to do it because that's who he is, but Pete Hegseth and all these people, he won't be with us longer. Trump will fire him because once this is settled and done, somebody is going to have to be the scapegoat, and it won't be the Donald. It will be probably Pete Hegseth, in my personal opinion. My friends, thank you very much for being with us tonight. This is just my, again, the research that I've done, and also 25 years of seeing the same thing over and over. We are dealing with an insane government. Why do I say that? Because insanity is doing things over and over, expecting a different result. And that's what the American government is, the quartet. George Bush, Obama, Joe Biden, and now the orange man, Donald Trump. All four of them, okay? All four of them are leading you in the same way. And this president is the biggest hypocrite because he ran on it twice, really 3 times, of not doing this to our country. 3 times this guy said that, and he's the hypocrite. He's the liar. He is compromised. And like I said before, that's what a bullet will do to you. That's what a bullet will do to you, because ever since that bullet came past him, his behind has been with the elites, okay? Go look it up. He has been with the elites. He hasn't been for the American people. He's been for the elites.